Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is my very special guest, that umbrella guy. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey there, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm okay. It seems like you're running into this the idiot brigade is out in force yet again.
Yeah, it's like a special needs wall or something I ran into this morning and it just kept going. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, that what is the intro song? That's a custom intro song. That was written by Cucksockers, my good friend Uncle Buck. If you don't know, what is going on with that umbrella guy is he has received a strike on his YouTube channel due to a DMCA takedown request on 4 videos that gave more exposure to a blog than it's ever seen in its entire life. Kind of funny how that works. A lot of people would say thank you, I think. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would think. I would think that if you can't drive traffic, I don't know. The guy has 80 likes now on Twitter. I think he goes for Twitter virtue, and
Whew.
he's never seen one or two. So I would think he would be happy. But
He's all the way up to the double digits. All
yeah, man.
right.
I mean,
Um,
ugh,
so
that's sad, man. That's sad to say, actually.
it's wild. The I don't know. So one thing that happens with this whole internet world, right, is like you if you have different ways to drive viewership, you have different ways to drive exposure, and there's always the negative way where someone attacks you or someone does something to you, and then that gives you an increased exposure, and just by sheer numbers alone that helps you out. So this guy, even though you may have made some videos that had some criticisms of his blog, he has two options. He has the I'm gonna try and take him down, or he could turn it around and like work it for himself. And I feel like this is sort of emblematic of what's been going on in all of these social movement things. You've got one side, and correct me if you think I'm wrong on any of this stuff, please. But you got one side who is they will take the adversity along with the positivity, and they'll try and make their product better and get their product to more people. And then you've got the other side that just wants to shut down any sort of critique or criticism or anything like that. And I'm noticing it more than just, obviously this is kind of in the context of Comicsgate, but it's more than that, right? And
Oh yeah, these guys. I mean, that's they don't have good points to begin with. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, you have to kind of live in an echo chamber if you don't have a point, because otherwise people come in, they point a finger and they laugh, and I guess that just blows up everything. All that need, all of that, all that clinginess and on. I guess it makes them feel like it either makes them feel like fools, or I'm not really sure. I don't really suffer from that. I mean, if somebody wants to make fun of what I do, I mean, I get it. I get it for accent and on, and that's okay. That's all fun. It's all in part of it. But some people just can't take it.
yeah, well, I mean, there's people making fun of you. There's people mocking, or even very rudely. It happens to all of us. And but then there's also critique, and those are two different things. And I can get where if someone is only rudely mocking, right? They're only rudely mocking. They're just saying, this guy's just hey, have you heard his weird accent? I don't know how to rudely mock you, frankly. But like, yeah, I could see if people got mad at the fact that they're only being rudely mocked and no one's engaging their work, right? Because that's the ultimate goal, is like engage the work. But critique is engaging the work, and I feel like that's just it's just such a weak position that they're in. And
They also want to chip away, like this guy here. Like, this guy does not want you to take his entire point and actually address it, and that's a very weak point there. So you want me to just take take clips, snippets of what you say, and half-ass address what you say there, because I can do that. But then of course it's misleading. Then of
Right. You're
course
you're leaving out all the important context, right? All the real good stuff he wrote is in the other paragraphs.
the one of the five. I mean, it's not like we're talking about, it's not like we're talking about going in and critiquing, a modern day opus here or anything.
No, no. I've read them. We might point to some excerpts on the screen. Wouldn't want to get a copyright strike. Actually, I probably won't though. And I want to talk about that because I think the statements about that are misleading. But I want to give a few more minutes for people to kind of trickle in before we really get into that substantive issue. So real quick, Cormoran says swig of apple juice for that umbrella girl. And I'm is that your daughter he's referring
Yeah,
to?
that's my daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you might actually she'll hear the live stream. It doesn't matter what time it is. She'll like want to come in and sing or tell a story. So
Yeah, I've
yeah.
heard her on some of your streams. She's very adorable.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's one of the reasons I got involved in all this mess, because I got involved in comics when I was 3. My granddad gave it to me. We're talking legacy. I mean, we're talking something that it doesn't matter how old I got. It's just something that's always been there. I want to be able to give it to my family like my granddad gave to me. And yeah, that's not the case these days. There are good people out there. I don't want to say that, but the industry itself, it is not what I see back in that nostalgic lens. Maybe it never was. Maybe we had a beautiful way of editorial camouflaging who these people are and whatnot. But at least they camouflaged it well back when.
yeah, well, I think that's even if that's not entirely true, I think there's a lot of truth to that because we see that in a lot of industries as we've gotten access to these people. Turns out lots of them are just flaming dumpster fires. Like
Oh,
just absolutely terrible, terrible human beings seeping into all of the entertainment that we've been consuming. So I do think there's some truth to that. Uh, I had someone said, "What am I drinking tonight?" Let me share this. I just got this I think yesterday. It was a gift. It was a gift from another lawyer who watches the show. This is Rabbit Hole Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, and it's very very good. I'm a big fan. The rye whiskey seems to be taking some prominence here lately. I'm seeing it everywhere more popularly. Do you drink, Tug? I think I asked on the last stream, but I can't. I drank a lot that stream. So
you drink a lot there. That's hilarious. Periodically, man. It really just depends on my mood. I'm not a huge amount anymore as I've gotten older, but yeah, for a while, yeah, quite a bit. So
sure, sure. Sounds good. What do you like?
I don't know. These days, just probably some. It's probably indicative of area, probably like Jack Daniels or something like that.
Oh, okay. So you do like whiskeys and stuff like that. Not just like some people only drink beers or wines or like I think Van Sciver can put down like 2 or 3 bottles of wine at a time.
Yeah, if I'm gonna drink, I want to feel it. So that's usually what I'm going for.
Me too. Me too. I don't tend to drink beers. I will engage in wine in company with people because it's a very social drink. You're sharing a bottle and really with the experience. I find whiskey and scotch to be the same way, but you have a different group. Like
Right.
wine's the family drink. Whiskey and scotch tend to be the I'm hanging out with male friends drink. But all right. There's a couple chats that came in, and then I want to start getting into this copyright issue for a little bit, and I want to kind of do a little deep dive based on what I've found, and then we can move on and we can talk about the industry. We can talk about whatever. We'll just see where the chat goes, but let's hammer in a few of these because we're getting up to a good number here. So Ryan English says, "Hey Tug, repair the big two, replace the big two, both or neither."
These days, I wanted when I started, it was repair. Now it's replace. I don't think they're repairable.
Yeah, I feel like ignoring the big two is
Mm.
um is the way to go. Which and maybe you have some input on this. I and I'm a normie and not super into I say I'm a normie. Here I am on the internet, but I'm not. I've not been super into comics for a very long time. But I love what MCU is doing on the big screen. I really do. I like all of the Marvel movies quite a bit. Not they're not all masterpieces or anything like that, but they're all fun and engaging. And I really like that. So are we stuck? Like, does it matter what happens to the big two as comic writers? Because I mean, even if they go, Disney's got the MCU IP. So
That's where you are. If you want to look at the industry and where it really is, you look at the fourth largest publisher, which is the third largest in-house publisher. They don't have intellectual property like this, and they are losing money like it is insane, millions per quarter. And when you look at that, you can tell that the comics are pretty much dead weight these days. It's the intellectual property portion. I feel like Disney, they keep them around. They basically, it almost feels like they try to keep current year headlines. They try to keep that
mhm.
kind of stuff off of them, but it's not about quality or anything. Otherwise, why would you have some of the crap you do? And why would you bring it back? If you can't sell 10,000 copies these days, at one time, 10 times that was a cutoff. These days, they brag about it when it gets to 20,000. That's terrible.
It's a little embarrassing. Now wait, okay. So I saw something the other day. Was this true? Was Donald Trump in Judge Dredd? Did you
I
see this?
don't know. I actually do not know that.
I feel like I saw Judge Dredd lecturing Donald Trump on immigration. Like Dredd, the ultra authoritarian symbol, like telling Donald Trump that he was being too mean to immigrants or something. Is this a meme? Can someone help me out in the chat? Because I need to know if that was a real thing I saw. I definitely saw a screenshot of a page of Dredd, like finger in the face of Donald Trump. And if that's real, I need to know that that was
Actually,
real.
yeah, there was, now that I think about it, there was, now I haven't read it yet or anything like that. The Judge Dredd, stuff like that has gotten so bad. It's hard to look at. It almost hurts me to look at it. But I remember a October headline talking about Donald Trump comes to, comes to Judge Dredd. So yeah, he comes to Mega City 1. Isn't that lovely?
Oh my gosh. Like uh in the liberal fantasy, like Judge Dredd should get along with Trump just fine because they're both authoritarian monsters, right? Like, that's how it goes. But
Yeah, they reimagine that. I mean, they reimagine these heroes however they fit their narrative. Like I was looking at the early Punisher stuff, and the guy who created it. I mean, now he runs around calling consumers he doesn't like alt rikers. Not playing off alt writers and on. And I was looking at his early work, and he has this guy assassinating people. And I thought, man, that guy actually is reflected in this character. I'm sure that, he probably sits around and reimagines his character assassinating a specific president these days, time and again.
yeah. Wow. God, just the content. I don't know what it is. I don't know why any of them thought this was a good idea. But we'll get back into that. Mithran Emrys says DMCA is deceptively misleading and easily misused and abused. It lets people make claims to lessen the impact of critiques. I agree. I agree it does, and we're going to talk about that specifically a little bit coming up. Darking D says, can I just point out that people have been doing response videos for centuries? Effing Locke, yeah, effing Locke had a long form debate over theology with the Bishop of Worcester in letters all the way back to in the 1600s. This isn't new or strange behavior. No, it's absolutely not. And we're gonna look at some of their claims specifically, and we'll do it by abusing their copyrighted tweets or whatever. These
I,
dumb.
that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Oh man, you're infringing on my rights because you talk about my tweets and videos. Man, that's
Yeah.
painful.
Read the license, buddy. It's like I wrote down what you said in public and then just put it out for someone else. Like I'm just quoting you. But okay, so there are two ways. Just sending this out to the chat. There are two ways to interact with us in definite fashion. One is through the super chat function, which goes through YouTube. The other is through the Justice Chat function, which goes through PayPal and Streamlabs. That is available in the description of the video. And I actually prefer that method because YouTube gets less money. So that's always fun. But either of them, both of them, will be very much appreciated, and all of them will be read on stream. If you have any super spicy ones where you want to say something horrific, do it through the Streamlabs one, because YouTube is a whiner about that stuff. So
I've been trying to get more people to use that kind of thing, actually, for the through that whole Streamlabs, just because, I mean, a lot of people want to support the creator function, and that's the way to do it. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, and it really is the best way to support. It's the best way to support creators, and especially not supporting YouTube. And it's less likely that their channel will be impacted if you decide to say a word that later becomes. That's the problem. It's not just a present usage. It's if it later becomes taboo or not okay. YouTube will go back and take it down. I had a video just demonetized earlier this week that I did a couple weeks ago, talking about Stormy Daniels and Trump suing Trump and losing, and for some reason that was demonetized. I don't know. I probably said something about Avenatti or whatever, but yeah, like, it was monetized for a long time, and then suddenly they just went back and decided something I said in retrospect was bad. So I don't know, weird stuff.
They do that with the weirdest things, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of the stuff I expected. I expected to, if I talk about, some of the more horrendous people in entertainment or something, and some of the things they've done in their lives. But some of the stuff, I don't know. I really hate a lot of people that have never made videos don't know, like, a lot of times you'll get something held for 4 days until the traffic goes away, and then, hey, it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Now that everybody's watched this who's going to, we've decided, well, it's good. It's good. We'll put it back in the algorithm now that everybody's watched it. Darking D also follows up and he says, by the way, Locke was a stone cold pimp. And I agree. In very many ways he was. All right, guys, let's start getting into this. So I'll tell you kind of my understanding based on what I've seen, and then you can fill in the blanks for us. So you did some videos, specifically 4 videos that were targeted. And these 4 videos addressed some blog posts by a guy named Rick Rotman. Rick Rotman, guys.
Real name.
Yeah.
Real name, by the way.
Yep. He does not hide behind anonymity. Not at all. Actually, on his blog, he lists the state he lives in. He lists, like, his birthday and all sorts of weird stuff. So, you can go find that information about him if you so choose, by his own words, not by mine. But Rick Rotman, he blocked me on Twitter, so I haven't even seen what he's been up to lately. But he is he used to be self-professed e-commerce expert, and I remember he's also an Uber driver, and I remember him coming in and talking about e-commerce, and I was like, well, buddy, you got like 200 Twitter followers. I don't know if you're really an expert in how things work online. And then he blocked me for that, which I thought was a little unfair. But
critique, man. Critique. There you go.
He doesn't like those critiques. But anyway, so I haven't been following him on Twitter, so he has a blog. He talked about you specifically in that blog, if I remember right. And he was critical of, well, let me just pull it up here. I'm not going to pull it up on stream yet. I don't know if I will. Here. My name is Rick Rotman, and this is my blog. All right, buddy. What do we got? Need a Comicsgate tag. Here we go. He's also really mad that Ethan Van Sciver blocked him on Twitter.
He used to be a comic skater. There you go. That's actually the kicker to all of this hate and animosity, is that he used to be a comic skater.
Oh yeah, I had heard that. I didn't know the story.
Oh man, here you go. So this is beautiful.
Yeah,
okay, the reason The reason that he sets out there and he decries people. He actually puts this in a blog. He entitled one called "Comics Gate is a Hate Group." I mean, you can see these lovely titles. I mean, it's so misleading about where he stands now, right? But the reason within that, he said that he wanted Ethan Van Sciver to give a moratorium on the use of words like "soy boy" or the NPC or "cuck" because those are the worst things ever.
What a
And
cuck.
And Van Sciver told him, "Yeah, I can't do that because nobody will listen to me. I mean, if anybody told me how to language police myself, I would just laugh at them. I mean, there's that's not going to work out. And I mean, he pretty much he was nice about it, but he dismissed him pretty plainly on it. And that little conversation there, that combined with the guy for some reason, I mean, you can tell the mindset here. He says, these comic books are too expensive. I could buy an audiobook for $17.99 and get 2.5 hours, or I could read a comic book for, at 10 minutes at 22 pages. And I thought, man, you might as well do everything with that audiobook then, because movies, nothing else is going to come in on that time frame.
No, not at all. And I don't. So wait, is he saying Comicsgate comics are too expensive or all comics?
Well, he started out with the all comics are too expensive, which these days, if people have not looked at this industry is at the highest pricing point it's ever been at. It's not a trend following print either. It was doing well, and in the last few years, with all the SJW trend that's in there, it's pretty much tank comics. So what they've done, just like anything else, pass it on to the consumer, make it a higher price, And some of these comic books, they thrive on milestones. They thrive on that, which we can get into in a little bit later. But I mean, the point is, they've passed it on to the consumer, and people got frustrated with it, and a lot of people, it's just they don't want to think that, say an Ethan, I hate to use him again on this, but he's probably the most well-known on that. Say Ethan Van Sciver puts out a comic book. He's doing 1,000 on his own. He's signing them in on. So trying to figure out how to do that at first, they're going to come out at a specific price. And that's not just Comicsgate. You have a lot of people that put out these independent projects, and they put them out for about $20 or on.
Right. Well, they're doing all of the legwork. They don't have the ability, like they don't have their own printing press. They don't have, like they can purchase wholesale some mass distribution benefits. Like, oh, well, I'm going to need 10,000 copies printed or whatever. They know that in advance, and so they can get some bulk pricing. But it's not the same as Marvel, who's weekly running off tens of thousands of comics. So they lose out on a lot of the efficiency stuff. They don't have it spread out over a monetized large staff. Like Meyer, he's hand mailing out all of these comics, and it takes a long time, as we've seen with Iron Sights. It takes a while to just mail out thousands of books because of the mere process of stuffing them into envelopes, taking them to a post office and trying to convince them to mail them where you need them to go. So yeah, certainly they cost a little more, but you're also, with an independent creator of any kind, you're buying more than just the product that you've got, right? Like you're making a statement, you're contributing to, with Comicsgate, you're contributing in some way to the movement, the idea of independent creation, of breaking away from Marvel and DC. And that does have a premium price. And in some cases, you are paying a premium price. If we're using Ethan as an example, as a famous artist who, if you're buying a Cyberfrog book now, only Ethan is drawing it. So if you like his art, you're buying just that. Whereas if you buy a run of comics, one day it might be your favorite artist, and the next day it might be some dummy who's not as good on the next issue. And then you might have to wait like 4 or 5 issues to get your next thing. So you're getting a lot of personalization options, we'll say. And I think they also all come signed usually, don't they?
Yeah, you're getting a lot of interaction and on. This could, in a positive way. First of all, like the one thing these people miss out on is you don't have to buy them. If you don't like them, then just don't buy it. You don't have to do that. The problem is when they say that, they say that about comics now. They say, don't like it, don't buy it. But there's a hidden subtext. It also says, don't talk about it. Don't, you can still criticize or critique or have fun. And a lot of people do. It's open. Nobody can stop you from doing that. But man, for years, they could do that within the mainstream. And these days, you can't do it either. Twitter and YouTube, at least right now, it's a little more Wild Westy. You can still
Right.
do something about it.
Yeah, well, and except now, people are, I guess, slow to the party. They figured out that you can do a copyright strike if any of your content appears in some other thing. And that's what happened to you, is that you went through this blog post, and the one that you referred me to was from October 16th, and it's NPC, Comicsgate's new slur for non-Comicsgate people. And I think this is kind of this is emblematic. I keep using emblematic. I just don't know of a better word for it, but of what's been going on with what I've seen with Anti-Comicsgate in my personal experience is that they think the entire world of the internet revolves around Comicsgate. Mm-hmm. So, when I had a guy named Null on my stream the other day. He's the underling to Mundane Matt, who owns Kiwi Farms, and because I had someone from Kiwi Farms on my stream, a bunch of people lost their mind because apparently someone has been doxxed on Kiwi Farms that's anti-Comicsgate. I don't know. I don't care. We didn't talk about comic books at all. But to them, that was the only thing that it could have been the subject. Like, how dare you have this person who did this, or this person who represents a website who did this? It's like, well, but the website does lots of things.
Like, well, they don't get to. They're not anybody's friends over it. Like at Kiwi Farms, I enjoy looking at this stuff, but they make fun of me just as much because I'll talk until I run out of breath. I'll breathe through the mic, and they're like, "Oh my God, stop that!" And I mean, it's fine. It's fair critique too, and it's their point. The thing is that I try to keep up at a certain point. If they don't want this stuff happening, those people, they will watch you and they will pretty much let you know what they consider a lolcow out there. And don't be one of those. Just don't be one of those. So,
but don't
everything revolves around them, and it revolves around comics, like you say.
Yeah, and so that's what it seems to be. But so anyway, NPC, of course, has nothing to do with comics or Comicsgate. It's been adopted as an insult to people who it fits. It fits them. The idea of an NPC is someone who is operating off of a rote script. They don't have thoughts of their own. It's funny because this is a very NPC response to the NPC meme in this blog post. So I just wanted to point that out. But so he takes issue with you. He actually quotes your tweet in his article. So I guess by his thinking, or that Moose guy's thinking, I don't know who Moose is. Moose Bowman or something?
He was the guy. He used to work with Van Sciver. And what happened basically, just a very, very short idea of that. He was going to work on Cyberfrog. He couldn't deliver on time. Somebody else replaced him. After a time, it was weird. It was very weird to actually watch play out. But he's had his hate on since then. And man, he hates certain people a lot. He really hates me. I can tell. That's okay. They don't understand the idea of consumer that is frustrated, that picked up a mic and said, F you. Like, I don't have to listen to you. I don't care. You're not a superhero. You're just a really shitty person that's out there talking about stuff. And I think I'm gonna counter that. I'm gonna kind of bring you back to earth a little bit.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that you mentioned earlier. You don't like it, don't buy it. Well, yeah, that's one option. But there's also the other option of picking up a microphone or a bullhorn or whatever and saying, "Hey, we like the medium, we like the concept of these things, we like the property, we like the characters. We don't like what you're doing. We want to buy them. So here's what we want. Here's what we don't want to see. Here's what we do want to see." That's I feel like maybe prior to Comicsgate, there's been at least one person somewhere in history who's tried to communicate to a business that they want them to offer some modification to their product, or even to go back to how a product used to be. I feel like that maybe has happened somewhere, but I can't
Yeah, well,
prove it.
this modern day, the current year concept here of any kind of critique, you're gonna, oh well, I don't like this work. Oh, you're criticizing the person who wrote it because of their sexuality. Wait, what, how
Yeah.
did we end up there? How exactly we did. And not only that, but what's your buy-in point? Like, where, at what point are you supposed to have a voice in this? Because for myself, I mean, I have enough disposable income to talk about. Like, I was spending upward. Comic books are expensive, just to say. If
Yeah,
I
no
if
kidding.
I bought what I wanted, $150 a week on just the individual issues, and another $100 on trades normally. So you're talking like $250 a week, and some people are spending a lot more than that. And you're not supposed to talk about them. And when you get tired and frustrated and walk away, they don't want to value that dollar. In my business, I don't talk about what I do, but in my business, I cannot imagine letting that much money just walk away.
No, no, of course not. When, like, even my business obviously is lawyer, and my other business is YouTube, and I have a Patreon. By the way, it's right there, patreon.com/lawsplaining. Check it out sometime. No, but when people leave Patreon, you know, you go, okay, what did I do here? Like,
Mhm.
why did I lose this person? Sometimes they give you some information, sometimes they don't, and you have to kind of roll with it because people come and go. That's fine. But every dollar gained and lost, like literally every dollar gained and lost when you're a business owner matters. And I think maybe that's a problem that's involved with having these big publishing houses paying slave wages to some of these people, is that they're not in charge of the dollars coming in, and they're not immediately and necessarily impacted when the dollars go out. They may get fired eventually, but it's not because there's no feedback of, like, well, we started running your book, and 200 less people per week bought it once you took over the IP. So you got to go. You got to get
Actually,
out.
it's even smarter these days. What the major conglomerates have figured out is they can hire cheaper labor. They can hire them, and then they can add qualifiers to it. I hired because of diversity, and these people, they fall over themselves, not realizing they're being replaced. Like I was talking about IDW. IDW this year, these people, they want to argue right off the bat. They want to argue about condition of industry and everything else. Well, IDW has cut almost $1 million in artist wages and projects and on, directly impacts them. But no, you don't know what you're talking about. Even though, like, the certain companies are publicly offered, you can look at exactly what they're doing, and it's itemized. And but of course, we don't know what we're talking about there.
No, 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 of course not. Because we don't we're not major publishers in the comic book industry, so we couldn't possibly know anything about business generally or about how to keep customers happy. There's a couple quick chats. Mithran Imra says the left has adopted 1984 as a how-to guide. And yeah, I actually shared a tweet from the New York Times, and I couldn't read it because I apparently have exceeded my free subscription or free views this week or whatever, which I like, okay, I guess. But it said how Twitter's ban on dead naming supports free speech. And it was the funniest thing. It's like, wait, so Twitter limiting the words someone can say is somehow pro free speech? Okay, gotcha. Dead naming and misgendering. It was both of those. So, but that's literally, that's like straight out of 1984. It's the 2 + 2 = 5. It's we've always been at war with East Asia. It's memory holing the idea of that name, right? That name goes right down the memory hole. It doesn't exist anymore. Can't call me Charlie anymore. Now it's Charisse. And if
It's a strange world we've woken up in. Sometimes I do feel like, I mean, the oddity is fun to sit and point the finger at and laugh. I love doing that. I love cringe farming almost, looking at articles and thinking, man, this is fun, because it makes the day better. No matter what I run into, at least I'm not those people. But then I think, man, this is the real world. That's crazy. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and the ramifications are becoming bigger and bigger. Like getting banned off of Twitter might be your marketing arm of a product that you sell, and getting banned off of there can be very, very impactful. That might be how people raise awareness and raise money. So to do that based on something, there's this guy, I don't actually follow him, but other people I follow him, and he's a traditional conservative or whatever a tradcon or whatever that means, I think. If I'm wrong on this, I apologize. I'm not familiar with him. Nick Fuentes, someone liked a tweet of his saying that he had to go back and delete all of his old tweets because Twitter changed the rules on dead naming or misgendering people, and he had old tweets that misgendered people. So then he actually got a quick suspension on his account, like right away when they changed the rules. So this whole like memory hole approach is crazy. But that's how that guy markets. Like, he's a verified Twitter account, and that's probably a big part of how he makes money. Super Iron Bob says the best part of the Kiwi Farms thing was the anti-comics gators were trying to warn Null that this stream had Null on it. Yeah. Yeah, they're not too bright sometimes.
Well, it's because you trade in virtue, man. You go out and, if you say the right thing, as long as you throw in like a man baby cries here, or a virtue signal there, that's all they know about life. They think that or even a worse platform. I've never actually tried out Tumblr. I don't want to. It looks terrible.
Oh,
but
God, I hate it.
Yeah, but I mean Twitter. I mean, when you see that, these folks, they will trade actual business for likes. I mean, I don't know. I don't even think Canada will allow you to exchange likes and Twitter currency for actual money. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't found that out yet.
No. The only way you can do that is by attaching some sort of business venture that your Twitter account just draws attention to currently. Gab does have, what was that? Gab had, I think since it got demonetized by Stripe or whatever, they did have a premium tweeting function where I guess people could like subscribe to your Gab and get, I don't know how premium Gabs worked. I really don't. You couldn't do porn on them, and that's the only thing I could imagine that you would do it for. But like I could just watch their account. So I don't know. Darking D says, how much will it cost to get you to really shill something for me? I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe get a legal issue and come on stream. We'll talk about it and then shill your product.
Well, that's I never thought about that at first. Like, people with comics would ask that. It's these platforms that get bigger. And I was like, I don't know how to answer that. Like, I don't even know exactly. I never thought about that. It's like you're saying, you have a thing worth talking about or whatever, and yeah, people will cover it.
Yeah. I'm not good at. I'm the worst salesman on the planet, guys. I always have been. Every sales job I ever had, I tried to get them to not hire me after the first one, and then they kept doing it, and I kept being really bad at it. And I was always honest. Like, I'm not a good salesman. I kind of hate whatever you sell. And they're like, no, you'll be fine. Okay, showed them. So I don't know if you want me shilling your product, but we could talk about it sometime, I guess. DM me. I don't like I'm not an advertiser, but I'm happy. I do like to shill products of people who come on the show. Like, I really do, because I believe in just reciprocal capitalism. And I think that's all a part of it. But I got super distracted. I apologize, guys. My day is really weird, and we need to get back to Rotman. So Rotman has these 4. You did 4 videos. Now, are the 4 videos on 4 separate blog posts?
3 separate blog posts. One of them was I did one on comic skates, why I was a comic skater until I wasn't. Apparently, it's weird not even wanting to talk about that. Okay, so you have points, but people can't address them. All right. Then there was one that specifically addressed me, and then updated. So it specifically addressed me. I got out there, I laughed at it, and had a little fun with it. And then afterward, he updated. I believe he may have even pulled the update off of his blog to make it look a little more, like he was offended by the idea that he was being covered. But, archives, they do kind of show that.
Okay, so
the videos.
That's in the NPC one you sent me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the update, you mentioned that it was updated, and it's not there. So he must have taken it down.
Well, and what's funny about it, he also just an aside with that. I noticed too. He doesn't get a lot of traffic, and he talks about he has the comments section policy. You know, you gotta be brief, you gotta be nice. He has to approve everything. So you know, the guy who virtue signals for identity, virtue signals for quote unquote people of color there, his only comment that he ever utilized was someone talking about, well, that umbrella guy, he's a closet homosexual. And
Yeah,
thought, man,
should I read it?
I don't know if yeah, I guess you could.
It's up to you. I mean, I was going to ask you because it says this is from a guy named Desmond Graves. So Rick Rotman doesn't own this because he does not have an end user license agreement that transfers a full license from Desmond Graves to Rick Rotman. So he doesn't own this, so he can't copyright strike this. It says that umbrella guy is the token homosexual Comicsgate member, just as the guy from Akari Press is the token African American. I imagine TUG, in quotes, maintains his anonymity to prevent being outed in real life. If you listen to any of his vids, his effeminate tones. Ooh, effeminate tones.
Yeah, effeminate. I get all these people complaining about, hey, where I live, like it's an allergen hellhole. So they complain about the noise in there, the gravel to voice. They're like, oh my God, it's almost too much sometimes. So yeah, man, I don't know how to make that more effeminate. I guess I could try, but
your effeminate tones and flamboyance shine through. You do come across as extremely flamboyant. There's no like dry, straight delivery. It's very flamboyant.
Man. You hear that snapping periodically. It's awesome.
It's hard to take seriously except as entertainment. Well, isn't that all we're doing in some way? Like that's what YouTube is. Even if you're being serious, it's still entertainment. The news is still entertainment to YouTube people.
I'm on Twitter to take people's own words and make them look like asses. That's what I do. It's fun. I clip their own thing, make a snide remark about it. That isn't that what Twitter is really? So that's what they're complaining about.
Twitter is making fun of people in as few characters as possible.
Exactly.
It's really been great since I started looking at it that way. This aside from being a bootlicking yes man, he seems to have no other qualifications. This anonymous voice has never claimed to be a writer, artist, or any other comic related position. Ultimately, he is simply a rabid fan with a serious infatuation with the unsustainable movement. Gay there. In quotes. I don't know what gay there means.
It's supposed to be a shut off of hey there, because I never thought
okay.
Hey there, folks. I do that. It was just, common courtesy, I guess, to say to people. And thank God if you're going to have like a catchphrase, it's easy. Thank
gay
God.
There.
Yeah.
No,
there.
When I was in law school, like I'm originally from Texas, and I'm up in Minnesota now, and a lot of the Texas goes away, but and I say howdy, and it's not because I'm from Texas, because I developed this long after I moved away. But I just like people are like, oh hi, and I'm like, hey, howdy, how's it going? It's something I've always said. So we actually had a deposition practice, a mock deposition back when I was in law school, and the guy sits down. And I decided to take a very friendly deposition approach. Actually, when I'm conducting litigation, I tend to be very polite, cordial, and friendly for as much of it as possible, because I find out that gets me farther. That's just how I do things. So, I was like, howdy, how's it going? And then we go through the deposition and whatnot. And the first note she says, she's like, you said howdy. It wasn't very professional. I was like, I was just being friendly. You told me to be natural. She's like, well, would you actually say howdy? Like, yes, literally 30, 40 times a day. But so yeah, hey there, howdy, whatever.
I guess I can say hey there 30 or 40 times a day these days. It depends on what I do.
Yeah, well, if you're running into people,
Yeah. No, I mean, YouTube these days, man, it's like, that's people just, they're like, do that. I'm like, all right, whatever, but I don't know. When you look at that stuff, like I say, that guy, I guess getting under his skin enough, the copyright strikes say that, but even before that, you had to okay this comment. One of the few on that entire blog. I scoured the blog to see if there were any on there. Just curious, like how much traffic he's, and I couldn't find one within 30 posts. So, uh,
Well, I did some research on his blog, just very minimal, trying to see if I could find out, what kind of traffic he got. Because, like you said, there aren't comments on the posts. I've never heard of the blog. His Twitter account doesn't have very many followers, and so I was like, well, maybe some people like will have a Twitter account that they're not very good at marketing their other product with, so or like cross marketing, so they might have a successful blog and then a small Twitter, or vice versa, right? And so I tried to find some information, and it really looked it looked like there just wasn't much going on this thing.
no, no. I mean, I learned a lot about that website today. At first, I was looking through it. I was looking just to see, again, making the idea of deplatforming as a notion. I don't believe in deplatforming. I don't care what you
Mm-mm.
say. If I did, I would have, I would have wanted to deplatform this stuff. But it's absurd. You can say whatever the hell you want to. That's part of the whole thing. Now, if you don't want to, if you choose not to associate with that, that's different. It's a whole different discussion. But yeah, do whatever you want. I don't give a crap. But I was looking at the website. I was looking at its hosting and on. It's very interesting how many terms of service agreements some of this shit breaks. So
Yeah. Well, it's nuts. So he has a very the main point I wanted to go with here is he's got a low traffic blog. That's fine. That doesn't mean anything in the world of copyright. It's not a low traffic blog. It means a lot in the terms of strategy and how you handle things. The only comment he's ever approved is extremely critical. And what's funny in this stuff is that in his other post, the one about Ethan Van Sciver blocking him, which I think you did a video on that one too, and that was one of the other ones where he goes ahead and doxes in quotes, because I know it's not an actual dox. The lady who donated to your boy Zach's campaign and then was harassed by a Grey Knight on Twitter. He also links Ethan Van Sciver's video in his blog. That must be a violation of copyright or something. I don't know
I think
what these
I
people
actually
think.
think it is. I was looking that up
No, it's
today. I'm
it's
curious
not.
about that too.
It's
Yeah,
a
but I'm sure this guy did never actually research that. He just decided to slap it in there. I'm sure that on that blog somewhere you've got some kind of copyright violations within pictures and on and that kind of stuff. Even if you're talking royalty free pictures when you start making money on it, and he runs ad clicking. So I don't know. I would be happy if someone, displayed my stuff, got a few thousand views, and sent some traffic my way. But
Oh,
man, what
absolutely.
do I
Like,
know?
honestly, because it's a numbers game. Because if nothing else, people will come and look at your site. Like, I've never gone to this stupid blog until today. I've
Right.
gone like 3 or 4 times to check things out. I find it to be largely boring, just like his
Yeah.
Twitter. So,
Yeah, I mean it's not only it's uninformed. It's op-ed. The problem becomes an op-ed when you start calling people part of a hate group. When you start calling them, in this day and age, hate group has a specific connotation. That isn't there to hurt my fifis. That's there to hurt my reputation. It's
right.
where to hurt my occupation, and
It
that's
means, yeah, it
you
means
got to challenge it.
racist. It means racist,
Mhm.
phobia of the deist, and some sort of bigot, and probably anti-Semitic, because that's the one that really seems to matter to people, no matter like across genres or whatever. It's always like the anti-Semitic stuff that really because. And this is not a slight on Jews. They're very good at this. Apparently, they have the best marketing for the hate thing because it has not been like anti-Semitic is its own category of hate, and it's really impressive. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, yeah, like you can make fun of a lot of people, but Jews have taken this horrible
I
event
like that.
that
I like
happened.
that word.
Tragedy, yeah.
Yeah.
They took this really bad event, but they have been able to utilize that past event to really keep a focus and attention on the amount of specific hate that they receive, and it's very interesting. But that's what they say. What they're saying when they say hate group, they're trying to ascribe these notions that other people hold about what hate means, and they're trying to put that on you because it doesn't matter what you actually are. They want the vague accusation. My buddy Dick Masterson calls it lying and implying, because it's way better to just kind of let the listener fill in the blank on what the bad man did, because if you tell them what the bad man did, it might not be that bad.
Well, you diffuse it before they even get to an argument. If I call you the racist lawyer, if I put a qualifier before you, or that person part of a hate group, you don't even get to the argument. A lot of people will just, in current year especially, they'll lay it to the sideline, and that's that.
Right, exactly. And it's really a shame that discourse has gone down to that. Cormoran says, Tug, which gay trans man did you impregnate? And I'm waiting for your answer on that one.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe that was one of those times that I was drinking heavily.
It was probably
Rekieta brought me on here that last time afterwards.
It was Jamal Eigel, I think. That's the gay trans man.
Oh, is that what it was? Thankfully, up some internet lawyerese. So,
yeah. GOP Gamer says, not an advertiser, Nick. Hold my beer. And then he followed up with a $20 super chat. Thank you very much for that. He says, watch the Needle Movers Society Friday at 7 p.m. CST as we pit people with little to no artistic talent against each other and see who can draw the best SJW superhero. That sounds pretty funny, buddy. Join us for Drawn and Tortured. Please make it stop edition. So
Drawn and Tortured. That's hilarious.
So everybody go watch Drawn and Tortured at the Needle Movers Society Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Go do it. That sounds like a great show. It sounds like a great show. I probably will not be able to watch it tomorrow because I am moving into a new house, and I will be very busy all day. Flat Earth Tony says, first, Weefek is gay. Second, next time you come to the Florida, we're going to exercise our Second Amendment rights. Yes, we will. We'll do that. And then Walesy1 says, everyone is entirely too sober. And I agree. Let me finish this rye, and then we'll get kicking a little harder. All right. Whoops. That was a mild mistake. Okay, so let's get into what happens, and let's talk a little bit of DMCA. If you guys watched the stream with your boy Zach, where he got the DMCA strike from Kwanzaa and Mags Visagio, whatever that person's name is, I don't know I don't know who any of these people are, and I feel like that's a luxury in my life.
It is. It very much is.
Yeah, so they did a strike against him in a similar fashion, an inappropriate strike. And so what Rotman has done is he said, since your videos, in fairness to his claim at least, he says that your videos show the entire blog article. And in your videos, do you read them word for word all the way through?
I do not read it without. Yeah, I cover the blog now. I do not read it all the way through, like without stopping or anything.
Right? No. You add commentary.
I'm very, I'm very verbose in that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, you sent me one of these, and it was like 17 minutes to read an article that was like 4 paragraphs.
Yeah, there's a lot compacted in this stuff. I mean, when you it's weird. Like I say, you can break this stuff down and again give highlights, but that wouldn't be good either. There would always be. These are the same people that we're talking about. Their idea that they own Twitter statements. So of course they've been planning to do something. That it came out of. In fact, you're talking about Zach. Well, this is an offshoot of that. In fact, when they were talking about flagging him, that's where this conversation came from. You have Moose Ballman that was talking about his intellectual property with his Twitter post, which again, it's the most amazing thing I've ever heard. It's funny. But and from that, you have Rick Rotman come in and start discussing how he wants to flag. Now, in fairness, I could have taken videos down then, but the thing was, I know these people are going to come after something, so you might as well. They're gonna do this regardless. They were talking about it the whole time.
Yeah, and what I'm doing now, I'm actually pulling up a Twitter feed that will be able to see them because I'm blocked on other ones. And no, everyone, my Twitter alt is not Pickled Nick or Rick Nikita. That's not mine because that's someone else. Mine, that one gets blocked. My Twitter alt has is only function is to look at blocked Twitters. So it doesn't post. You'll never see it ever. So there you go. Where is this stupid thing? Rick Rotman. God, what a terrible human.
Like I said, I couldn't believe that was a real name. My point on his real name was Rotman. Well, it felt like it fit. Today it felt like it fit.
Yeah. Oh, here. So here we go. Here we go. I'm going to bring this over our faces here. So you'll notice that how he has expressed his copyright. It's not how this works, buddy. So, okay. I'm not going to tell you how it works though, because I don't want you to have any ideas about how it works. But, let's see. Where is this dumb thing? God, this is boring. Oh my God. How many times a minute do these people post?
They post a lot, especially when when they're getting a little attention. Like today was a big attention day for all of that. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Hold on. Let me see how many follows this guy has. I need to shrink this window a little bit so I can get the scroll bar. Where is it? Here we go. He's got 238 followers. Okay. Because when I last looked, he was at 233. So he's gotten 5. Good job, Rick. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, you got any streamers? Can we pop that out?
Yeah. So where I don't know where to find this thing. Let's see. Let's look at some of this Twitter law expertise that's going on. SJW Spider-Man. He says, so Rick Rotman filed his 4 copyright strikes against TUG as 1 strike. He basically just fired a warning shot. Rather than go for a full deplatform, rather than whining, that umbrella should be thanking him. Take this as a lesson to be better. Here's the problem, SJW Spider-Man. If I can call you stupid, can I call you stupid? If you file a DMCA takedown in bad faith, not only is that unlawful, but it's an abuse of the copyright system. And you will lose. So the 4 copyright strikes that would take him down, like if he'd done them all the way, that would make it potentially worse for Rick Rotman.
Here's SJW Spider-Man is a wonderful deplatformer. I cull all this. I keep my own, like for videos, I just clip things like that. I keep them, that way I know I saw it myself. No one made it up, and I archive it. Well, here's October the 20th. Here's the same person. Tired of seeing Richard Meyer be platformed on YouTube, monetized, and using Indiegogo as a way to sell comics. Contact Indiegogo and report his videos for hateful content. So,
right,
yeah. Platformers are us.
Exactly. And with I don't know if I should even say it. Of course, they never take my legal advice anyway. These idiots don't realize that part of this is the intent. Whoops. I'm not trying to put that up on stream. Part of this is the intent behind the copyright. Like if you have a malicious intent when you file your DMCA strike and not a good faith intent to you're actually in good faith asserting your copyright, that's bad for you. That's actually really bad for you. That's how you can get to things like perjury. That's how you can get to losing these DMCA strikes. So what I can tell you guys about DMCA is not an evaluation of copyright. Okay, so when Rick Rotman decides to flag 4 of TUG's videos, and he says, "I'm submitting a copyright strike," all YouTube does, if they do anything, and I'm not sure how their algorithm actually works, they get the takedown request, and I think all they do is see if the content that's alleged to be in the video is in the video. So they say, he did a copyright on my blog, or he copyright violated my blog post, and then they say it's in the video. And so then YouTube goes, is there blog post in there? Yep, take it down. Then they send TUG a notice and say, you've gotten a copyright strike based on this thing.
Mhm.
And then what happens next is that TUG can file a counterclaim. Do you want to talk about your counterclaim, or have
Sure.
you? I don't want to make you say anything. So
No,
uh,
no, I already. Here's the I even wondered about this. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't care. So my YouTube is not under my name. I was smarter than this. I knew that this shit would come down the pike one day. So phone number that they'll try to trace. I figured if this is an information gather, because that could be what it is. You know, they've been
right,
trying to dox people. In fact, I've talked about before. I actually had one of these little malicious fucks call my workplace, and one of them does indeed have doxing material. They haven't dropped it yet, so I don't know what that's about. Maybe they don't want you to grow your channel. Maybe they just want to hang that over your head. I'm not sure, but maybe more of them want that. So to file that, you have to reply with information. Well, okay,
right,
the YouTube channel is I am the voice for my YouTube. A lot of people do that.
yep,
I'm the voice talent. I'm not the owner there. The phone number you get, well, that's fun, because it goes through a Skype number that reroutes to a phone number. So hey, enjoy that too. It links up, and I mean, all of this stuff is you have to use a person's name, but it runs as a business. So
right. So, but you have or haven't filed your copy,
I
or
haven't filed yet. Mhm.
okay, so you have. Sorry, I was
Mhm.
talking over you. Okay, so you have filed your counterclaim, and here's what happens once YouTube approves the counterclaim, and they just have to review it and make sure it's correct and the information
Mhm.
matches the information that they have. What they will do is they'll send a notice to Rotman and say you have 10 to 14 days to produce court documents that you are suing, that you're suing TUG. And considering he doesn't know who you are, that's going to be really, really difficult
Mhm.
to serve papers on you. And then once that time expires, and sometimes faster, depending on however YouTube decides to take it, what'll happen is YouTube will restore the videos. And that's how the DMCA statute works. DMCA operates actually separate from copyright. DMCA is a way for websites and other publishers to go ahead and cover their own bases, so that when
Mhm.
they get actual knowledge of a copyright infringement, that they take it down. And then when you challenge it, they say, okay, now we have sufficient basis. We've done our due diligence. They can put it back up. And then the copyright then goes between the two parties. So DMCA doesn't have anything to do with copyright. Successfully taking down a video or a channel doesn't have anything to do with copyright. I think it's actually embarrassing that YouTube does do demonetization and stuff like that on a copyright strike, because that's causing damage to people when there's probably not actually a real copyright claim underlying it, unless it's coming from like a Disney or something like that, a big company, although there may be worse in some instances. But yeah, so when they file this, they're making a sworn statement under oath that they're filing it in good faith and that they have done a fair use analysis. And when you file your counterclaim, if I'm not mistaken, you're making a statement under oath that you have, in good faith, determined your material to be fair use. Is that what you remember from your copyright claim or your
Yeah,
counterclaim?
that's pretty much what I put in there. It meets it is fair use. It meets the four criteria for da da da. It's transformative. It's also it's Lord, educational, with also some there is a parody, not satire, parody. It can be.
Right.
I did a little reading to make sure that I remembered which it was supposed to be. Because satire is apparently not covered, but parody is. All right.
Satire, I think, is maybe not. I don't know. Criticism, though,
Mhm.
parody, criticism. One of the other, so they're four prongs. One of them is also commercial use versus
Mhm.
educational use, and that's a scale, or like a sliding a number line, if you will. And they can say it can be both, but it can be more commercial than educational, or more educational than commercial. One is, and the other factor is the nature of the original work, right? So you've got the nature of the original work. Now here's the problem. This guy's got a monetized blog, but very little traffic. So that kind of, it is a commercial product that he puts out. However, the actual substantiality of the impact of copyright infringement plays into this. So even if it was, let's say this wasn't otherwise transformative or whatever, we're just looking at that one prong where we say, he's got a commercial channel and you're using it for a commercial purpose. What they have to do is balance the substantiality of the impact. Did you cost him business by making your video? And I mean, almost without any question, no. If anything, you increase traffic to his channel. And so the substantial impact factors, that's not going to play in his favor at all. But I want to talk about transformative use because I've been running into people online who seem confused about how this works. Okay. So
you mean all those internet lawyers? You mean they haven't been taking you to task and schooling you on law? Man.
No, shockingly, they're not very good at it. Let's see. So I'll go to Rekieta Law. Tweets and replies. Hey, there's our stream. There's Neil deGrasse Tyson being accused of sex offenses. Hashtag listen and believe. Man ruined Pluto. Looks like that wasn't the only buddy grabbed onto. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I'm trying to find the specific post. And this is... where is it? Where is it? Here we go. So this guy, Ailil Faradich. Do you know who this guy is? I have no idea who this guy is.
No.
Okay. He says, it's not illegal to file a DMCA request. Wrong, it can be. And he says, even if that request ends up not being accepted, that's not a thing, like accepted versus rejected. It's either a complete DMCA request or it's returned because it's not complete. Beyond that, it is remarkably difficult to argue transformative in any case where the entire work is reused. Good luck with that theory. So
yeah.
I dug deep. I dug really deep and did 5 seconds of research on Westlaw. And I found a transformative use case about a blog post. And this one was a little different though. Let's qualify this appropriately. This was a blog post where a person was sharing videos of a person giving speeches in public. So a speech would be a performed work or whatever, and could be copyrighted, obviously. And then this person took video of them and then uploaded the video to a blog. And then was critical of the speeches. And that's the important part here. So I want to just address that entire that entire work thing. So it says, as defendant used the entire work. Okay, so the amount and substantiality of the portion used, so this is the amount of work that's used in the allegedly infringing work, weighs slightly against fair use because they're using the whole thing. It says, as defendant used the entire work. However, this factor bears less weight for a transformative use, and courts have widely recognized that transformative critical uses often require using a work in its entirety. So, yes, just blanket repeating and creating a copy of an entire work is probably not fair use. But doing criticism, critique, commentary, those things, you sometimes have to go through a complete work. Now, it's not like you're recreating War and Peace or like an entire, you're not giving the annotated Twilight book or something like that. But just taking a blog post, a speech, a video, even playing it in its entirety, offering commentary that's sufficient to make it transformative. So it's not the same purpose as the original work. That kind of obviates the whole using the whole thing. And then finally, this section really made me happy. Plaintiff cannot invoke a law meant to prevent the free exploitation of original works when defendant has here transformatively used plaintiff's work to criticize and challenge the factual narrative plaintiff presents therein. And I thought that was really specifically tailored almost towards your case, because what you're doing is you're reading through some of his paragraphs and you're basically countering his narrative. You're saying this isn't correct, this isn't accurate, this isn't the right thing. We're not talking about this here. You know, that's what you're doing. And so I don't know, man. It seems to me like obviously this guy has no claim, right? If I haven't made that clear yet, people, fair use is this weird area of law that's very, very complicated. It is fact specific, and it is fact specific on a case by case basis. And that's because the court has been really, really hesitant to lock down what fair use looks like, because they don't want people walking up to the line, stepping over it, turning around and spitting, right? They don't want people to just go just enough. And they can't always anticipate what will be transformative. There's no formula for art, and criticism is an art. So there's no formula that can adequately do this. So they provide these factors and then a judge looks at them and weighs them out. So with that in mind, and the fact that there's always a possibility that some judge would disagree, on balance, man, what you did is in no way infringing, because no one's watching your video to try and read Rick Rotman's article. No one's watching your video instead of reading his article for profit. And no one's doing that. No one who is watching your video is like an otherwise consumer of Rick Rotman who's now going to stop. I mean, there's just no way around that.
Yeah, my highest probably liked comments on those are, who the hell is this guy? So it's pretty telling. It's not like he's some superstar out there.
Any Dynamo's telling me it's pretty obvious that dumb person filed a false claim. Now get hammered and scream at people. We'll get there. We'll get there. The night is young. We'll
get there. All right. There we go.
But no, so that's the whole problem, right? So what they're doing, what these idiots are doing, and Zach characterized this very well when he said they're so stupid because they're colluding out in the open. Like you said, this guy and Moose Knuckles or whatever his name is, they're talking about this. I gotta find Moose's Twitter, because it was Moose. What's his last name?
Baumann.
There it is. Baumann. Moose Baumann. Baumann. Oh God, what a disaster! This stuff is magic.
I mean, it's magic though. Like I would think that these people are, when we're talking about parody, and I think these people would be, parody, but.
When you're dropping Jon Stewart gifts, you're in good company. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, this guy has his hate on for an Ethan Van Sciver. He really hates that guy, and he hates anybody that will make fun of him. And I don't know. That's what Twitter's for. Again, he's gone from. What's funny is 2 months ago he was a keyboard crusader, an internet warrior. You slimy effer. I'm gonna put you in your place. How dare you? And now
right.
It's now I'm gonna take you down because you can't talk about my fifis.
God, I'm trying to find this stupid idiot's. Where's his post about? I have a copyright in my Twitter where the other person just like posted Twitter's terms of service. God, that was funny. Did you see that? Did you send that to me? Someone else sent that to me also, if you did.
I can't even remember what else I seen it. I mean, it's in a bunch of fun stuff,
Yeah. I can hold on. I'll look in my direct messages because that might be a little faster. No, who sent this to me? Oh wait, no. You sent me the screenshot here.
Yeah.
Let me snip this so I don't dox my DMs or whatever. People are so.
It's amazing, like how much these people do online, and some of these folks. it's really interesting. One of the other people that's really well known in this circle is a guy who has a project that's 5 years overdue. You know, it'll never come out, but
Right.
sits around on Twitter all day long and does the same crap. So
Yeah, I mean, so I learned this when I was covering the Google lawsuit. James Damore sued Google for discrimination based on political orientation, right? And what I found out is that Google employees don't actually work; they tweet all day, like constant. Well, some of them. There's like 3 people who code the Google search engine, and then everybody else just tweets about SJW stuff all day, and it's insane. And I mean, they were because he's got their tweets, or they had the tweets in the lawsuit and stuff, and so then you go and look these people up, and it's like, how do you work? How do you do anything during the day when you're on Twitter this much? It's not, and that's not your job. Like some people, it's their job to market themselves on Twitter. These people are employed by Google. They're not marketing a product, you know? Okay. So Moose says, oh yeah, this is from the thread, but it's not the whole thing.
it starts out with the just with the beginning. So here's the beginning. Again, this
Yeah,
is in
yeah.
response to a tweet about Zach. So here's Ballman just to start this thread. He says, just a thought. I know a lot of these jagoffs pull other tweets and photos from Twitter for to use in their videos. Tug has a few videos where he does nothing but recite my tweets. I'm looking into it, but as far as I can tell, it's also infringement.
Yeah,
uh,
he didn't look very
Imagine.
far into it. It's definitely not infringement to share a
Yeah,
tweet.
somebody put up the Twitter rules and not going through everything, but the one sentence that really says it says you agree that this license includes the right for Twitter to provide, promote, and improve services, and it also says the license authorizes to make content available to the rest of the world and to let others do the same. So there you go, right there.
Yeah. You probably don't own public declarations, unless the public declarations are particularly profound, or some sort of art. Like now, if you're tweeting out like some poem that you wrote, like a screenshot of a poem that you wrote, I don't know that that's going to transfer a license for someone to steal that poem and post it or anything like that. But one of the things that I've noticed, WordPress has this too, actually. Um, when you take when you're using something from a user on one of these websites, the main caveat in the license is that you attribute the ownership, and that's how probably how Twitter works too, because obviously Twitter has a way for you to take people's words and share it with the world, and that's the retweet function. Um, uh, WordPress has a reblog function, which is similar as well. And what they do is they make sure the attribution of the original content is there, and that's part of the license. So Moose says, or Joe Glass, okay, says, "Oh God, why are they coming after you now? Not because we're working together on something, I hope." And Moose says, "I've gotten a few hits because of that, but no, they're pissed that I'm looking into copyright protection status of tweets." Yeah, you don't have it, dummy. Specifically, comic skaters who read tweets on YouTube for money. No one's actually reading your tweets for money. That's the
I'll read your
interesting thing.
tweets for money. They're not protected. Sure, I'm gonna do a little dance. I hope people shower me with praises while he's reading
But
this. Hopefully, people super chat over him just to say, yeah, we're reading it for money.
yeah,
Screw
yeah,
them.
yeah. But my point is, it's not the tweet. It's not the tweet that's generating the income.
Right.
It's us calling you a dumb cuck or whatever that follows. Like that's what's generating the income. People aren't sending money for your tweet because they just send it to you. They know where to find you. You're not monetizing these things. I found some interesting stuff. Twisted some knickers in the process, it seems. No, that people calling you dumb isn't twisting their knickers. And then
Yeah,
Rick
that's
Rotten. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, that's the thing. Like, they talk about, oh man, I've really triggered people. Yeah, you triggered them into, sitting around, drinking and laughing at you. I mean, I'm really triggered there.
Yeah.
You really showed me.
If that's what triggering is, if triggering is having a drink, relaxing, and laughing at a stupid person, I want to be triggered 24/7. I want to be
Yeah,
triggered all the
really.
time.
I mean, comedy wise, I mean, this is comedy. Man, Dave Chappelle triggered the hell out of me apparently back in the day. I
Exactly.
mean,
So Rick Rotman then follows up with, how about if they use your full name? No, you don't have copy protection or trademark on your name. That's not a thing. Now, if you have some sort of pen name like Prince, you might have something like that. Actually, Prince didn't own it. The studio did, and he lost it. Personal opinion, Tug. How good of a lawyer is it that you sue a major recording artist out of his own name?
That's kind of you deserve something there. You deserve at least a plaque or something that says that as well. I actually sued Prince out of his name. I mean, that would be
for a
I would hang it
decade.
up.
For a decade, this guy had to go by a symbol because we won his name. Okay, so he says, how about if they use your full name in the title of a monetized video? Does that count? No, Rick Rotman, no. I'm going to go back and edit this video and write your full name in there, you dummy. That doesn't count. You don't have a copyright in that. You didn't create it. Your parents did, you moron. At best, it's a derivative work. Moose says, I'm not sure. Oh, God. But I wouldn't think so. Oh, at least he got that much right. Unless it's a libelous title. No. John Doe Kills 3 is not necessarily libelous. That sort of thing. It would have to be something pulled from your feed. Nope. Nothing like on Twitter. It'd be... I don't know how... I don't know how they would even plan on this. Like, how would you copyright infringe a tweet without potentially transforming the use in some way? I guess just like taking a 1-frame clip of the tweet and posting that on YouTube or something, maybe. I don't even know, but
I don't even know if that would. I mean, would that really work? Since it says that Twitter allows you pretty much to they can show it to the world for whatever reason, pretty much, and everybody else can do the same. I mean, would that even matter?
I got to see how it's worded. Can you do you have a link to that? That's specific.
No, I just have the piece pulled up for it. I mean, that's all.
Can
I've
you
got
DM me that screenshot real quick?
Sure.
I just want to see
that.
I
pulled it from the argument. Is actually where I was watching somebody, laugh at him, and I thought, man, this is hilarious.
I want to see how Twitter words that line, and then I'll give you, because some places do kind of restrict it to use within the platform, and so that'd be interesting. But we'll see once that comes up. But in the meanwhile, so, God, I'm clicking on the wrong freaking windows because I'm 1,000 years old.
All right, I sent that to you.
Catch you later, Michael Smith. Okay, here, let me pull this up on my screen. Okay, so it says, by submitting, posting, or displaying content on or through the services, you grant us a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free license with the right to sublicense to use, copy, reproduce, process, adapt, modify, publish, transmit, display, and distribute such content in any and all media or distribution methods now known or later developed. This license authorizes us to make your content available to the rest of the world and let others do the same. That's it. You agree that this license includes the right for Twitter to provide, promote, and improve the services and to make content submitted to or through the services available to other companies, organizations, or individuals for the syndication, broadcast, distribution, promotion, or publication of such content on other media and services, subject to our terms and conditions for such content use. Such additional uses by Twitter or other companies, organizations, or individuals may be made with no compensation paid to you with respect to the content that you submit, post, transmit, or otherwise make available through the services. Let's be very clear. The license that you give to Twitter gives you no more right in those words. The only way would be to revoke that license. The way you could revoke that license potentially is by deleting the tweet. But I think you would actually have to follow up with a written revocation of those licenses. I'd have to read through their terms of service to find the method of revocation if there's one spelled out. But if there's not one spelled out, I think you would literally have to send a written notice to their legal department that says, I revoke your right to use the following tweets, and then provide either hyperlinks or screenshots or whatever. And then they would have to acknowledge that revocation and not challenge it. You do not have at all any sort of copyright in your tweets. Of course not. It's like you're standing outside and yelling. That's what a tweet actually is. You're standing out on the street corner naked in December, yelling at the world and praying to God someone looks at you so you can go inside and get warm. Like, that's it. That's it. Let me read a couple of these real quick. Darking D says your price is $20. Very intriguing. Apparently. Darking D then further says, we all know how quickly you dig rackets. You should have been a miner instead of a lawyer. Mellow E says, entertaining stream as always. Rekieta Law. Thanks. Hey, Tug. Marsupial Gamer. Bottom line, what does Jamal Eigel say about all this? P.S. Hey there, Tug. Landon Mackinjames. Autism Overload. Guest's favorite anime. So Landon is the official anime expert and recommender of Rekieta Law. What is your favorite anime?
I don't know. It's pretty boring, I suppose. Like my kid's 5. And I think right now I'm very attached to Death Note again because my kid has been sneaking it. And, again, 5, can't spell, but she's grabbing a notebook and trying to write people's names in it. So,
well, don't teach her Rick Rotman's name or she might get hauled in for some sort of
There
threat.
you go. That would make an excellent video. Yeah. Oh, my God. But I don't know. I've been, anything the folks out there, they recommended, Goblin Slayer because of all the controversy to it. And,
well, what I understand is the first episode is controversial, and I think I've watched all of it or maybe just most of it. Are you familiar with the concept of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually after that I read it and I've caught up. I've been switching over more. All that money, and I'm not going to give it to people who hate me. The manga and anime. You're talking about people who value money. So
right, yeah, clearly, because Dragon Ball Z is like 7,000 episodes now.
Well, you have a creator that had so much money that he built a train in his house. So he built him he was like, what the hell am I going to do with all this money? So I was like, I can really admire that, because if I had more disposable income than I ever knew what to do with, God knows what I would do.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many plans. If I ever somehow get $1 billion, I have so many plans. I'm gonna just ruin people all day. It'll be great. Super Iron Bob says, while your statement on how a person's name couldn't be copyrighted is interesting, I have to ask, what would a real super lawyer like Zaid say about the issue? Well, I think Zaid would probably only have a problem with something being copyrighted, like a name being copyrighted if it was Mark Wade's name. Or Michael Avenatti. He seems to really like Michael Avenatti, despite the just repeated evidence that Michael Avenatti may be one of the most unethical lawyers around. God, that guy sucks. Darth Bobcat says derivative work would be a good name for a rock band. Yeah, probably. I like that. Or it'd be a great name for a Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, like a punk cover band. It's all derivative work. That'd be good. Berserker Bauer says, what if you retweet someone? Is that like infringing? No. Exactly.
Like I say, this is why if you reset your, obviously if you're a business and you're promoting yourself on Twitter, I don't know what to tell you, but if you go on social media with the whole purpose of pointing your finger at people and laughing, this is what you get into. I mean, I kind of understand Kiwi Farms more when I see this kind of shit. I do.
Well, I said on a stream the other day, and this would have been 2 weeks ago, that Kiwi Farms is probably heaven, and most of the people on it are dead. They're actually just dead up in heaven and just laughing at internet autism all day. Mm-hmm. Like that's for someone that's got to be heaven. That's my opinion.
Well, they give as they say on there, all of the people they're just sitting around watching the autism fly on both sides. They're enjoying it, and I think everybody, if they actually looked at those statements and they thought about everything they get into, it wouldn't stop you from saying stupid shit and things like that. But the reality check is most of this shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You getting in Twitter arguments, who cares? Just have fun, again, mock people and on. Unless it's your business, I think that's I think that's where it's kind of been lost.
Well, no, and I'm gonna counter you on that. even if it's your business, because these big businesses start to think that Twitter is reality. And that's what's given these sad sacks so much power, is that they can come out, they can get 50, 60 people together to do this like circle jerk, and then spooge out some sort of protest against someone to a company, and that company gets scared as because they're like, oh man, like 50 people on Twitter, and then they got some retweets or whatever, have said this. Now suddenly we have a problem. You don't have a problem. You have hundreds of thousands of customers, and you have a couple loud idiots on Twitter, but they're like ignoring what their customer base looks like and thinking that these people on Twitter are their customers when largely they're not.
Actually, I think the most telling thing I've seen about how Twitter translates to business is there was a Universal Fan Con. It was put together. It turned out to be, instead of Universal Fan Convention, it really was a fan con. They con people out of money, but they were talking about the translation to having tens of thousands, not of followers, but retweets and on. So they had all of this traction, all of these people promoting it, because Twitter, virtue, and all that. Well, they managed to sell 6 tickets. 6 tickets. So
yeah, because none of these broke people tweeting all day can afford to buy anything. It's amazing. It's amazing. They inject themselves like that was the whole thing with Gamergate. What was it? Years later, there's a video surfaces of Anita Sarkeesian saying, "I'm not a gamer. I don't play games," even though like. That was her whole thing, was like, oh no, I'm definitely a female gamer. And not only am I a female, I'm representative of the majority of female gamers. You guys need to listen to me. And then of course it turns out, no, I'm not a female gamer, but this is a problematic community. This is a problematic community, and we need to mom them. We need to mom these people back into being correct or whatever, as if they have any right to do so. Some other mom did the job. You dumb hoe. That was a little bit.
I've never seen so many anarchists or self-described anarchists and socialists that work for mega conglomerates like Disney and on until I check into this and I see comic books. I mean, when you look at people that are so out of touch with what they're saying there, it's like, it's great that you think, socialist qualities are going to be fine until, you're begging people to buy your products because you can't eat. I mean, that's the reality of that. I would love to see these big corporations again step out and a Marvel actually have to fend for itself again. They would be begging people to come in. But, this is a different thing. I think that what we're going to see in a decade, maybe even less, we're going to see the death of, the distribution system. The LCS is dying, or the local comic shop, for shorthand. 2017, you only have 2,300 of them left. So 50 of them closed in 2017. This year, they've almost doubled that. So they're killing them. I mean, they're killing them. They're killing them quickly, and they just don't care.
Yeah, and again, because they don't buy the product. They don't. These weirdos. We're gonna call them what they are. These weirdos who are coming into like the gaming community. They weren't playing video games, and it's like, if all you want is representation in video games, go make the video games. And represent yourselves. Go do that. That's what we all had to do. That's what nerd culture did, right? Like some nerd was like, you know what? There's not me in a video game running around shooting demons. I'm going to create Doom. Like because that's what I think is cool. I think some like psychotic super soldier stuck on Mars with a shotgun and a chainsaw killing the demons of hell, which are somehow on a different planet. I think that's awesome, and no one else has made it. So he made it. Grand Theft Auto is like, it'd be great, like if I could run around and shoot people without going to jail. Oh, I know. I'll make a video game about that instead. That way I don't actually run.
Haven't you heard lately? It's what they really want, what we all really want. We want to play a medic that goes in and fixes all these problems. I
Oh my
saw
God. Yeah,
uh,
we want to do gender reassignment surgeries in our new trauma ER
that
game.
would actually be an awesome game, man. To be honest. Like if that
Chopping
was one of the side missions on
like
on Grand Theft Auto 6 or something,
it'd have to be like
go and complete this drug deal, and while you're at it, give a gender reassignment surgery.
but it'd have to be with like one of those time challenges, like how many dicks can you chop off in 60 seconds? Go, 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 go. Now they're all comic creators.
Oh Lord.
uh, but yeah, that
The
like
bag of dick challenge, man. You just created something. If that ends up being a mini game, I hope that they give you credit.
no kidding. Just credit me, guys. Just link my YouTube channel in the game somewhere. No, but that's the thing. These people didn't want, or these guys who created this stuff, who created video games, didn't have what they wanted. So they started making video games. They're like, culture isn't fitting me. I don't have representation on TV. I don't have representation that I want in books, or maybe I do, but I want it in some visual medium that's not just words. So they went out and made it. That's how TV started too. That's how genres of TV get invented, by the way. If you don't know, someone goes, you know what? There's not enough stories about like a PI trying to bang a sexy broad who's investigating her husband in a dark room. That's how film noir gets created. He's like, that would be the sweetest job. Like, I don't care even if you're broke and struggling, like you're sitting and some leggy blonde comes in with a shawl over her shoulders, and she's like, "Hi, would you investigate my husband? I think he's cheating on me." You're like, "Yeah, baby." I got
Yeah,
you covered,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
baby.
Take a long drag off the cigarette, take a sip of whiskey, tighten up the tie because it's down on like the third button by the time she walks in. You put on your fedora, you go out and you look for the guy, and you get chopped up because you're Jack Nicholson and you're not doing very well, and you're in Chinatown. Go watch Chinatown, by the way.
Man,
But
don't you hate that these people have ruined the fedora? I mean, they
yes,
that's
yeah.
probably one of the travesties, like the biggest travesties that I've ever seen is taking that image you're talking about and turning it into what we see. The fedora tipping milady ears. My God,
They ruin everything. And
yes.
it's weird because it's like all throughout human history, if you didn't have something, you just made it. And that's it. You just added. You didn't have to replace. You didn't have to replace. Like Comicsgate is symbolic of that in a way too, because Comicsgate wasn't there to replace Marvel and DC. Now, a lot of people are starting to become of the opinion that Marvel and DC need to go, and Comicsgate would be an acceptable vehicle to take their place. But the goal was just to like, no, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go over here. We're going to go away from you guys and make our own thing, because if you don't like our thing and we don't like your thing, that's fine. You go over there and do that. We're going to go buy our stuff over here. Mm-hmm. And that's what people have done through all of history. Like when Henry Ford made the automobile, he didn't go murder all the horses. They just went out of business selling horses in bulk. And all of the streets, by the way, started stinking a lot less because there wasn't so much manure running around. But you always just built your new thing and you did it, but not anymore. Not in 2018. You can't build your new thing. Not only do we want to take over what you've got, we don't want you to go off and build the other thing. We want you to be stuck here to buy our thing and like it. And that's what pisses me off, man. That's what really gets me.
Well, that's I mean, they're criminalizing nostalgia. I feel like they're making it they are victimizing people that are still tied to it. They take this idea, well, it will get better, at $4 or $5 or $9 a pop these days. Yeah, I don't have the patience. And when you look at this industry, not to be boring on it, but numbers are what speak to it. Last year you had one of the worst years they've had in several years. This year they've made 2% more, but they've raised the pricing point again to all-time high. The top 5 leaders this year, number 1 is an $8 comic. Number 3 is a $10. 4 and 5, they're $6 comics. So you're talking about.
Are these 24-page books? or
Yes,
whatever.
yes. Well, no, 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 no. No. Actually, the milestone editions, they're dependent on specific things. The $6 ones, yeah, they're reboots. So what they'll do is they'll put out a comic book. They pretty much victimize the local comic shop doing this. They'll put out a comic book, they'll renumber it, a number one, and then they'll put out 20 to 40 covers. Like, no joke, 40 freaking covers. And
40
they'll call them
covers.
all the same thing. Yeah, and they basically, the LCSs, that's why you see, like if you look at the numbers now, you'll have a comic, if it does really well, it may sell. You'll have, again, you don't have a lot of these, but like Fantastic Four, when it rebooted, it sold 300 and something thousand copies with number one. By number two, it dropped almost 70% because you don't have 40 covers. You don't force the LCS to pick up all this extra stuff.
Well, and the other thing is, people have because they remember their parents and their grandparents, and they're like, oh man, if I had just gotten that Superman number one, right, it'd be worth a fortune.
Mhm.
I was actually at a different kind of local comic shop when I was down in Florida. Really nice guy who ran the shop, completely oblivious to all of this stuff going on, because he doesn't sell new comics. He only sells old stuff, right?
Mhm.
So he only sells old stuff, graphic novels, and then he has a bunch of toys and books and stuff like that. Really nice guy, and I was having a talk with him about this stuff, and he has no idea like what Comicsgate is. But I asked him, I'm like, what's your opinion on like all the stuff going on in comics? He goes, give me a book with good art and good writing, and I can sell it to anybody on earth. That's what I want. That's all I want in my life. That's what I want to sell. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, he was talking about these. What was it? Oh, people keep coming in. They ask him. He was talking specifically about the Death of Superman series, which I have very proudly, like have the Death of Superman saga, like all the numbered books or whatever. He's talking about people like, a couple times a month, someone will come in and be like, "Hey, what's the first Death of Superman comic worth?" And he's like $10. And they just walk out with their head in shame because they may have actually paid a bunch to get it at the time. But
That's
but
well, I mean, that almost killed the industry. There's actually been Joe Quesada, who is the CCO of Marvel. He was talking the other day, and he hit a half truth with his stuff. He said the '90s, they almost killed comics because of speculation like that.
right,
Now there are
yeah,
other things. Marvel almost killed it by trying to take over the distribution system and on. But yeah, a lot of people, like my dad, even, my dad, very stoic guy. He had a box of comics he had bought, because he thought, hey, you could retire on this shit or something later on.
yeah. Well, and that's what he was saying. He's like, well, Death of Superman. The problem was they printed so dang many of them that they're just not rare, and everybody bought them. Everybody bought them. And then, like I'm guessing it's the same with the Batman backbreaking issue or whatever. Any of these big major events that Marvel started engineering, or these were both DC, but Marvel and DC started engineering these big events, but then printing enough to accommodate the demand. And once you do that, you destroy the collectability of the item in favor of mass distribution. That's a fine business choice, by the way.
The
Uh,
saddest thing though these days, okay, for a comic that's worth money right now, that's it's relatively new and on. They had to expose Batman's penis in one. They had
yeah, he made
the
fun of
first
that one
appearance of
too.
Lil Wayne there. I mean, they pretty much destroy their intellectual property and on. But hey, at least it sold comic books, right? It got pulled off the shelves, and it's worth more than the paper it's printed on. But by and large, most of this stuff will be worth a quarter if you're lucky later on.
Yeah, because nowadays the comic books have figured out the model. They know when. That's why they keep redoing number ones, right? Like they know if we do a number one and we indicate a new series, a bunch of people will buy it, and they really don't need to care about number two that much. But yeah, it's this weird thing, and they're playing off these old ideas, these old speculative ideas, like you're talking about. Is
Yeah, and
that
they'll never, people I think they're waking up to it more. I saw an interesting statement from from a lower, like a smaller company that was talking about how much you actually sell. Used to you went by the 80-20 rule, but now you're looking at 40 to 60%. If you're really lucky, you can move 60% of volume within the comic books that you pick up as a shop. Although I called almost 50. I can't remember. I have to look at my number, but I called and talked to 53 or 54 shops that would talk about that. And their number was closer to 40 to 50%. So can you imagine buying all this stock and then only moving 40% of it?
No, no, I would stop. And I think that's what I liked about the shop that I went into. So the guy's like, nah, I don't deal with Diamond, Marvel, or DC at all because I just like to sell these. I like to sell older books. He likes to buy and sell books that he knows people want. Like that's his whole gig. Buys cheap and sells for a little more, and just has stuff that people can find. Now, what I mildly regret not buying the Image comics. There were two comics that I saw in his 4 for $1 bin, and one was the Image swimsuit edition, and it had Voodoo, I think was their name, on the cover from Wildcats, and then another one was like one of the Image comics lingerie edition, and I was like, this is pure 90s comics. Like, you can't do this anymore. Could you imagine, like, if you had a lingerie episode, it'd have to have a bunch of guys wearing lacy banana hammocks or something. God,
I can't even imagine the creators of that. In fact, J. Scott Campbell, he created I think 2 years ago, or maybe it was even 3 years ago, he created sexy, different like swimsuit issue types, and he created Tiger Lily from Peter Pan. And there was this huge blowback years later on the internet. That's been something that happened within the last year. I learned words like settler splaining out of that.
Settler splaining? What's settler splaining?
Apparently, when you create an indigenous or I think they were calling them indigenous people. And when you create an indigenous person that has been captured, and not only was he a disgusting pedo according to them, but he also was settler splaining. Oh, see, I love that. I love learning new and inventive ways to basically cultivate the same old buzzword.
Yeah, well, you have to keep the dialogue changing so you always have something to talk about. If you keep creating new words, then you can make fun of the people who haven't caught up to the lexicon and discredit their arguments immediately. And that is something I've noticed as a trend of the social justice movement. And I noticed it with the gay and trans community and the different genders and all that stuff. It's like, oh, you don't know how many genders there are? Oh my God. Well, you don't know what cisgendered means. It's like this started for me watching people on Facebook argue. It's like they're arguing with like a 65-year-old man. Like, you don't know what cisgendered male means? And the guy's like, no. So, well, how can you even comment about what gender even means if you don't know? It's, well, no one knew what this was 5 years ago. You made up a bunch of new terms, and now you expect a bunch of people to follow up on this literature that doesn't matter. No one cares about this. I had
someone send me to a site to show me how bad this was in a live stream. They were like, check this out for real. So they sent me to a place that had Excel sheets, that were talking about the different qualifiers, with paying this and whatever that. And there were 5 Excel sheets worth broken into individual columns that went through adding. And I was like, how the hell do you keep up with this stuff? I mean, no wonder these people are so damn ignorant in life, because all they do is sit around and learn other people's qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, you have to spend your entire time making sure you say the right word and getting that. It doesn't matter what else you say. Once you have it's like a key. It's a key to the lock, right? And if you don't say the right word, you don't get in the house. You don't have a chance to have a conversation.
Yeah, there was this big blowback to Worldcon that came up, which is a sci-fi convention. So they called this guy a him, and this person they were complaining because the person goes by E.M. himself. I was like, how the hell do you go through this? It's magical though. Like I said, It's a shame that this is real life because otherwise it's damn well funny.
Yeah, it's yeah, if there were no implications or ramifications to this, it would actually be funny because we could just make fun of these dummies who are like, ah, you misgendered them. But now it's you misgendered them. By the way, you can never work again. That's what
Yeah,
we need you to do. Like, did you see this thing with the high school kids doing the Sieg Heil
I
thing?
did. I saw that. Ugh.
Like, and they're like, I saw the statement from the superintendent. It's like, we have the police involved and we're doing everything. The police for what? For what? A bunch of kids made a joke. It was distasteful, whatever. And then, of course, the brigading from the dummies on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, we got to make sure that no colleges accept these kids." I'm like, "Oh yeah, there you go. What that's gonna do is that's gonna teach them not to be a Nazi. If you just go ahead and ruin their entire future for them making a joking gesture, that's what'll do it. That'll
My
teach them the lesson they need."
my mom used to worry like I would, beat some kid with a chair or something like that. And now these days you have to worry about, making like you say, a gesture, or again, not utilizing somebody's their correct pronoun. How life has changed. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
the okay symbol. I mean, what's a when you look at that, even
this is
innocuous
white
gestures.
power right here, apparently. Because
That
it's
just
got the
is that that
W.
is that is true first world problem. I mean, I always thought that was very indicative of what we see. I always thought that was the perfect descriptor. First world problems. People who have never been through conflict, they've never actually had to deal with true problems. Yeah, so they
Don't you
create
wish you
some.
could like let these people like we should just start crowdfunding vacations for like mags, for example. We could just crowdfund a vacation for mags and send her to like I don't know, Turkey or Iran, and then she can experience the glory of other cultures, and she can get some like perspective on her views, or like the Central African Republic or something. Like,
That's actually a good point. These people, they become obsessed with this idea. They put it in comic book interviews and on. They talk about new comics reflect the world outside our window. And it took me a long time to really think about that. But like you're talking about, yeah, maybe they need a cultural, maybe they need it's kind of like throwing water in their face or something and being like, wake up.
yeah. Well, I don't know. So for reference, someone I know and love very dearly, is a woman a little older than me, and I'm not going to mention who it is in relation to me or what my relationship with this person is, although it is completely a normal human relationship. I just don't want them to get any sort of heat on this. But someone who is very dear to me went to go live in a third world country for a while. What we would, I guess, what I would consider. I hope I'm not offending the great nation of Nicaragua, for example. But they went to go live in Nicaragua, and they did some traveling beforehand and traveled around to, like Asia and various other places, Central America, and then they settled on Nicaragua as a place where they'd like to stay, maybe try and open some sort of business, buy some property, and do something. And they were down there while the Nicaragua had this like uprising from the students. Don't call them socialists, but a bunch of little commies got mad at the Nicaraguan government, which is no better than commies, by the way. They're not communists, but they're not much better. So they got mad and they had some protests about how the government was treating them, and the government just decides to shut off the power to these small towns, power and water. Like, good luck. Here you go, small town. Government says you're going to protest us. You don't get power and water. And she's like, I don't know what to do. We got to go get our water from this like place. It's far away. It's a real pain. We don't have internet. Luckily, I have my cell phone and I can do this stuff. But it's like, and then the whole time, like, just appalled that this stuff happens. It's like, yeah, you're not in the first world anymore. You're not where government makes sense. You're in a place where power makes sense. And that's what most of the population of the earth deals with. And that's what these people on Twitter don't understand, is that most of the earth doesn't have the luxury of spending 14 hours a day on Twitter masturbating to their own words. They have to deal with the fact that they might not be able to eat that night because the literal government might prevent them from eating. And stuff. And so then, of course, Nicaragua degraded very quickly, and that person is no longer there. Thank goodness. But it was very dangerous and tense for a time, and like borders were closing and stuff like that, and we didn't know if she was going to be able to get out. And it's like, this is the reality that everybody deals with. And I bet you no one in Nicaragua was concerned with people's pronouns. Let's just put it that way. They weren't worried about pronouns. They were worried about water and electricity and the government shooting students in the streets and the students throwing like rocks and fire bombs at government workers and stuff like that. You know, that's what they're concerned about.
When I was a kid, you know, I lived in Germany. My dad was in the military, and I remember people weren't worrying about things like, you know, the commies over there, the giant wall, actually getting shot, you know, and starving and whatnot, or people like the Bonner Meinhof, you know, coming in and blowing up buildings and all. You know, I mean, you had that kind of stuff, and now when you look at that same culture, what they worry about now, what they worry about, you know, hurting someone's fifis and on. I mean, it's just. I guess it's good that we've gotten to the point in society where we don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, you know, maybe some people do need a reality check. They get it every now and then too. You know, when you look at some of these, like looking at comic books, when you look at some of these creators out there, every now and then, look at that Chuck Wendig, you know, who was attached to Star Wars. Finally went too far with, you know, one tirade where he's calling people, you know, prolapsed a-holes and, you know.
Yeah, but that guy's a giant sandy anus. I retweeted one tweet from him. One tweet. Like, I've never interacted with Chuck Wendig. He's verified. He has like 180,000 subscribers or followers or whatever on Twitter. Little me, retweet one tweet and say, this guy's insane. Blocked. Like, imagine the obsession levels that you have to have as someone with 180,000. Like, I have like close to 4,500 Twitter followers. I can barely keep up. Keep up with what's going on. I can't imagine 175,000 Twitter followers, one retweet, which you may not even get a notification of, amongst your thousands of notifications that this dummy's got to be getting every minute. And he's like, no, I gotta block this guy. It's like, how do you have time for this? What do you do?
I don't understand the, maybe I look at making money with business. Maybe I look at having my name on a product equals me being that product. But, I don't understand these people. It's just a foreign mindset. That's one of the things I ran into right off the bat. I got involved in utilizing Twitter just to see what the hell all this hubbub was about. And the second day on there, I was introduced to the idea of block botting because, God forbid, I followed diversity in comics on Twitter. And yeah, and then I had some, you know, the guy writing Spider-Man. Again, my second day there, I said, well, you know, what is this about? And I mean, the block bot, what the hell does this mean? And, you know, why is this happening? And I have these people not retweeting, but taking screenshots and saying things like, because you're a Nazi POS. And I thought, I've got thousands of dollars in your stuff. And in 280 characters, you pretty much have just ruined that relationship. Congratulations.
By the way, can you please get me on a list of block bots? I got to get on there. I got to get these dummies off of bothering me. Although it is funny though.
Well, a lot of the creators may actually have you blocked, but what they've done in the industry now is they have empowered trolls to go after them.
Not enough of them have me blocked. I'm going to say that.
Really?
I'm not working hard enough.
Comicsgate. I mean, it's pretty niche in its own way. You have a few accounts that are huge, and you know, for comic books, again, for this kind of stuff. When I say huge, it's still not 100,000 followers there, but
no, the biggest being Meyer, right? He's got like 92,000, which is absolutely commendable. But in the scheme of things, Like a
Yeah, it is.
92,000 follower YouTube channel that's like middle management, right?
But he was voted one of the top 10 influencers in comics by Bleeding Cool in last year. One of the top 10 influencers. So with
Yeah.
that kind of platform, that's all it takes these days. That's what I
Well,
don't know. I find that fascinating.
yeah, I think that's the illusion of that's the illusion that's being shattered by social media. I notice this. So I follow I've been listening to a podcast called The Dick Show for a very long time, and
Mhm.
before that, I listened to Biggest Problem in the Universe, and that's what eventually got me when the two co-hosts of The Biggest Problem in the Universe sued each other. That's what got me into YouTube because I got drunk and read their lawsuit, and people thought it was funny. So I do that now.
I used to get drunk and review products. It was the worst product reviews ever, and I didn't care. And then, comic wise, I thought, well, at first I thought I'm going to cover comics I like. Then I started looking at the names on it, and I thought, I can't do that. And then Gail Simone decided she actually got me started the way I'm going. She was pointing out creator John Malin. I mean, you had him on for
Yep.
the
Yeah.
yeah. So he
The
he
debate.
actually, he's got a lot of shit from these people because he said the creators out there, they influence. If you're on a book, you have other creators, you hit everybody there. So for me, I invite everybody. Everybody can come here. He said that, and then he had his infamous tweet about how SJWs are not superheroes. They're more akin to, the idea of Nazi Germany. Oh my God, they blew up.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, that's amazing. If you never looked it up, it's beautiful. But
No, no. But
they piled on him, and Gail Simone was piling on, and I said something about that, and she said something along, again paraphrasing. I bet you can't make that make sense. I bet you $1. So that got me started. I made a video saying, okay, basically, asshole, you owe me $1. Here you go.
well, the reason I brought that up though is because Maddox was the co-host of The Biggest Problem in the Universe with Dick Masterson, and he wrote a book, and it was a New York Times bestseller. And to me, New York Times bestseller always meant Twilight, right? Like 100 million copies, uh,
Right.
massive spread. So he's I've got it. Where is it? Where's this stupid book? Right here. It's this book, Alphabet of Manliness. Very funny book, by the way. Maddox, one of the funniest things he's ever done. But so he writes this book. It becomes a New York Times bestseller. Then I find out in the course of the show and their discussions that sold maybe 35, 40,000 copies. And that's all you need to be a New York Times bestseller is like once you get past that 20,000 copy mark. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's it?" Like you do that in a close enough amount of time and you're a bestseller. And that shattered the illusion of all this stuff for me. So yeah, so you've got a guy like Meyer, who again, a very commendable YouTube following at 92,000 followers, but in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of things, like when we're talking about people who buy products from AAA studios, for example, we're talking about millions of units sold, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about Grand Theft Auto 5 making $1 billion because it sells 50 million units or whatever within the opening week, and we start to program our brains to think that's what success actually looks like. This is a beauty of Comicsgate to me because a guy like Meyer or Skyver or Ikari Press or whoever, they can come out, they can sell 10,000 books, they can sell 8,000 books, and they can be among the top selling books.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
big time.
and
I'm
and
gonna I'm gonna do an all ages book because we haven't done one, and I think it'll be funny. I'm gonna do it as a vehicle to get my daughter interested. I've talked to one of the creators there, and what's hilarious is I probably have the ability right now to outsell some of these huge pros out there, which is
yeah, well,
man, that's
if I've been one I keep saying this, and I want to do a very I want to do a full panel on this with people who have done it, but I want more than just comics people involved in it. And that's most of the successful creators I'm associated with right now. But I want more people involved with it. The idea of taking insular communities and and shattering all of our traditional notions of what is and what isn't a bestseller. And again, from the Dick Show, one of the guys on the show is who came on from time to time, a guest named Asterios. He wrote an album called Santa Cuck, and it basically was Christmas carols rewritten with the word cuck used as many stupid times as possible to make fun of Maddox. That actually charted on the Billboard 100 list, and it's a Billboard charting album. Because of how the system is set up, and because it's all based on how distribution worked 30 years ago, right? It's not the same thing anymore. Now you can take a community of 20 to 50,000 people, and you can, like, if you have a loyal enough following, you can rival the sales of major publications, major productions. Not like the platinum productions, right? Like we're not putting out a Jay-Z album here, but you can get enough to get on the Billboard 100 list, and I think that blows my mind. And the fact that
these companies, if you're talking like comic books, I mean, that's the thing I know here. When you're looking at, again, bringing the IDW thing in, like looking at them. Yeah, of course, these people can outsell them. You have companies out there. I would not believe these numbers unless I pulled up the actual stock reports. But IDW for this year at the 9-month mark, so we don't know their end year, but at 9 months, their entire year is, when I say negative too, I mean, not compared year to year. I mean, their whole year is negative $7.174 million. That's how much money they've made this year.
So IDW is in the tank, 7 point something million dollars.
And they have accumulated, now they're worth $49 million. So when you think about this, by 2020, their loans will balloon up to $21,444,000. So yeah, they've already diminished it. They've already diminished their equity by 14 to 16% this year. So they've dropped the equity of their company by that just this year. You're talking about companies that decided to, again, indulge the Mafifis brigade. And not just that. I mean, you're talking about old school ways of thinking when you approach industry versus the stuff you're discussing, going out there, engaging this insular community, building those things and supporting them, making them viable for you. Instead of doing that, they went with the whole idea that, comic shops will continue to buy. They will continue to go under for us. And by doing that, because $27 million in the hole, if you count their debt, just from this year alone, they actually added on, I think $13 million in debt. So $20 million year this year. And the beautiful thing about a company like that is they're so small that they're answerable. They're publicly traded, but they're so small that they break the components of their business down. So you can see exactly what they're doing. And the takeaways there, comic book wise, the revenue from comics has diminished, and the overall income from operations, their entire income base, is at negative $2.53 million with that. So yeah, comics are making negative $2 million for a company that doesn't have the intellectual property that a Marvel or a DC does. That makes you question why you would ever allow your professionals to go out and to war on fandom and on. Shouldn't you be out there like begging people to buy your damn product?
Yeah, proposition for you, question for you, opinion request from the TUG, right? Did comics industry forget that it actually is an insular community by the success of things like the Marvel Comic Universe hitting mainstream movies? Like, can we ascribe it to innocent ignorance, where they're like, okay, so the comics community in the U.S., you mentioned it used to sell 100,000 copies, 200,000 copies of books, but now they're like boasting about 10,000 copy sales, right? So yeah. Let's say there's 250,000 active comics buyers, like real active comics buyers in the United States, which I think that's a figure of roughly 0.1%. We'll say 350,000. So you got 0.1% active comics buyers in the United States. Or even we could say a cool million. And I think that might be a little generous. But you got a million active comics buyers. That's still a tiny market, right? Like that's in respect of like who's buying toilets, literally everybody. But you got a million people buying comics. Did comics forget that they're actually a niche market? Because when they put movies when they took the Marvel Cinematic Universe and they put it into production with Iron Man 1, and suddenly like 30 million people, 40 million people go and watch this movie, right? Did they forget that they're actually a small industry? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, I think they're looking to make real money. I think when you're talking about the big, the big two are so totally different beasts than the others. You know, the big two, they don't even count the money made in comics as real money. When you can make a Black Panther and you can have the operating profit from Marvel, you know, for 5 years off of that. Yeah, that's not which would you rather have? Would you have the intellectual property or that? But in this, it feels like they don't really care about comics. They're kind of, they're kind of a way to safeguard the intellectual property. And I guess this is the way I've been looking at it. Like a Disney, for example, a Disney, their job is to put your butt in your seat, your kids' butts in beds at Disney World, you know, and it's not, when you look at Disney World's profits, they make $16 billion on a good quarter versus Marvel last year. If you were going to be ultra just generous about it and call every dollar they made, not take anything out for expenses, they made roughly around 400 million. Of course, that's no distribution, none of that. So if you were generous and said all of that, $400 million, where does that show up? It's nothing compared to what they're really looking at. So I think for the big two, they see a decline in industry. In fact, I don't see how it continues into the future because, comic books, you're going to have people that'll buy them digitally, but by and large, like you were talking about, collector nostalgia, things like that. Once that's gone, where do you go? And you see them scrambling to put a product out there where every now and then they show signs of life. Like they'll put out a Walmart book. They did that recently, but when they did it, they cut out the local comic shops and all, and they made it Walmart exclusive.
That's how Walmart works.
Yeah. Well, they said there was for kids. Now, of course, you're talking about a $5 book. I don't know about you, but if I were a kid, if I had to spend $5 a piece on comics on these comic books, these exclusives, they have 12 new pages of material, and then the rest is all reprint. So for 12 pages of new material, maybe a kid getting into that, maybe they'll look at it possibly, but yeah, it's just a dying market. They're not replacing any of the consumer. Like when I was a kid, you go to the spinner rack, you pick up a comic for spare change. It didn't matter how much money you made. If the minimum wage was $2 then, well, spare change is a lot easier to come up with as a kid than $5 or $10 or on.
Right. Absolutely. So I've got a proposition for you, but I got a couple chats to read first.
Ooh, proposition. I mean, oh yeah.
The proposition will be, let's wrap up. Let's circle back to the copyright issue, wrap that up, and then officially move on because we never did. And I have a proposition on where we move. Kinsum says, Nick, I have an anime recommendation for you if you can find it. Irresponsible Captain Tyler, or if you want the feels, Irio no Sora UFO no Natsu, aka My UFO Summer. And that just shows the efficiency of English versus Japanese right there. Thank you for the recommendations. I've been watching episodes like reruns of Jeopardy lately because that's all that Lady Rackets and I have time to do is to fit in a 20-minute episode of anything every now and then. And we just make fun of the people on Jeopardy because they all look like mutants. Darking D says, F you, Tug. I look darn good in a fedora and nothing will change that. So that was from way back when you said that the SJ... When I agree with you, by the way. They've ruined fedoras. And they can ruin it and you can still look good in it, buddy. but it's still
Yeah,
ruined.
yeah. You can have in business, you can still wear a fedora and actually look cool. You can actually, you yourself can look cool, go into business, feel good about yourself. But my God, if I have to see one other, just morbidly obese person shove their head into a trilby, it just pisses me off.
Landon Mackinjames says, "Fun fact: the longest anime is Sase-san, 7,000 episodes, 1969 to not president, 1969 to Trump. Now that is god tier autism for a boring show about a grandma. Also, Death Note sucks. Well, he doesn't like your favorite anime apparently.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
you should have your
I'll tell my
daughter
kid.
write him on the
Yeah,
Death
I'll tell
Note."
my kid, hey, by the way, Death Note sucks. She'll care. Now I mean, this stuff is newer for me. I've always, I've enjoyed like Junji Ito, like Uzumaki and stuff like that. But I've been reading weirder stuff. I like a lot of horror. I also don't. I like superhero comics and whatnot to a point, but I like odder comics. I want,
Sure.
fighting monsters and so on. I want horror. Yeah.
You want the transgender demon priest breastfeeding a baby while preaching from the pulpit. That's what you want. That's an
It's got to
odd
have like
comic.
at least six breasts, or I'm not even on it.
No, only one though, because it had cancer and one had to be removed. We have to really hit all those buttons.
Man,
Uh,
you just plotted out like six issues of the newest Image comic.
Ryan English says, "What lessons should the new comics companies like All Caps and Splato be learning from manga? Any ideas? I have some ideas. Do you have any ideas on that first,
I
though?
think just basically, like, what are our talking points when we boil it down? Have a damn good product, love your money, and remember where it comes from.
I think the other thing, and this is what I'll hammer on, because I'm a you probably know from behind me. I'm a 40K fan, Warhammer 40K. I think that this is what's lost in current comics, new comics coming out. This is what Marvel and DC know very heavily, by the way, is there's something to. I want to create a new genre of fiction, not science fiction or whatever. It's called universe fiction, the universe genre, where you create. These exist, like the Star Wars universe exists, the 40K universe exists, but I want to officially section that out. Because if you create a compelling enough universe, what you can do is you can put good stories in the universe and you can slide in some phone ins, right? Like you can do that. There are phone ins on this shelf for sure. That where you read them, they're not very compelling. It's maybe a new writer, and they see some potential in him, but his first couple works might not be as good. But eventually, once they get the feel of the universe and they're writing in the language of the universe, they're going to produce good stuff. Like this is old, Lord of the Rings, C.S. Lewis. We've got any number of these entire worlds that have been created, and if the world is compelling, we'll forgive some of the weaker works in the world. To me, that's what Marvel knows this because they've got their list of properties. Avengers clearly, Guardians of the Galaxy clearly, every one of the individual Avengers, of course, being related to that as well. They know that they've got something about this universe, something special about this property. DC knows that they've got Batman, they've got Superman, they've got Wonder Woman. I guess they've got Aquaman or whatever. They've got these properties and these universes that have been created that allow them to monetize this. Manga, to me, that's what every manga is, right? To me, the manga universe that's created is more important than any individual work that's going on. The Berserk universe is compelling. It's this medieval world with the fantastic brought to life, and how you stick a guy who is absurdly stronger than everyone else and has this weird set of principles into that world. But
Here's a question,
yeah,
actually,
go
with
ahead.
okay, adding on to that. So, do you think, like an Ethan Van Sciver, he is probably more well known than his work right now? To be honest, do you think that hurts in the long run because you're talking about having a character that is out there, that's monetizable, but that's its own force, not the name of the creator that's its own force. I mean, or do you think that that's part of this new push as well?
I mean, I think it's both and kicking it off. Like Cyberforce Cyberfrog is Ethan Van Sciver, and it's also Cyberfrog, and hopefully, like, he creates a world that that is monetizable and could be expand. Like, if he expands the label of all caps and lets other people write stories that are derivative from the Cyberfrog universe, right? Like, there are other heroes that come about, or whatever. Maybe that's a thing, or it could just be an individual product. But I think it has to transcend one thing, because if you've got to have it to where to be a sustainable industry, and there are two different things. There is an art and there is an industry, and they can be both of the same thing, or they can be individual and have their own merit. Like, you can create one piece of art that stands on its own and is worth a fortune, and that's great. You can also create a universe that will pay you dividends over time based on what you've created there, and you won't ever have the $40 million Picasso, right? But you've got the serialized thing that's going on, that every single issue that comes out matters, and it compounds as it grows. So I think it's both, but I think what manga does is it really, like, One Punch Man, and I don't read manga, I don't watch enough anime, but I get, like, clips on YouTube, right? And I'm learning about One Punch Man without having watched a single episode, just by various clips on YouTube. And I find out that there's, like, these like, it's a world, and there are superheroes or heroes or whatever within this world. And not only are there heroes, but they're so normative that they have a class rating system as to how effective of heroes they are. And so you have your S-class heroes, and that's where, like, Saitama or whatever One Punch Man is. And then you've got a bunch of other S-class heroes, and even they're ranked kind of within that. But then you've got lower class heroes and stuff, and they have different tasks and roles. They've created this compelling universe. And in theory, if the guy who writes One Punch Man dies, someone could take over this formula and run with it. Hold on. Holy cats.
My daughter's snugging here. Hey, do you want to say hi real fast?
Hi.
She's like, I'm bored. Let me talk for a second.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
Yeah, no, you're not telling a story today. You need to go back to bed. Okay.
Yeah, go to sleep. It's late. What are you doing?
It's like 1:00. You know, I told you, like, she's like a live stream magnet. She hears this stuff and she's like, I gotta go talk. It's a weird world. I was thinking about this. I thought, man, you know what? I would have killed to have this kind of interaction when I was a kid with comic creators and all of this stuff. And
yeah, no kidding.
You know, and I mean, people get that if they look at this stuff in a positive way. You know, you could take that marketing force like you're talking about. You could turn in. You could do so much with this, and so many people could. You know, there's new creators. They could create something and make real money. I mean, some of the money that I've seen new creators actually bring to this kind of stuff. That's one of the things I think all of this I'm most proud of. You know, actually seeing the success of other people. It's not you know, bitching on the internet is great and all. You know, charting the decline of industry is funny. You know, I like to put it under a microscope. But watching other people succeed because they, you know, they're saying, hey, you know, I want this stuff too. That's great. And hopefully they can take some lessons from discussions like you're having right now.
Right. But to get back to the final question, or back to that original question, to me, that's what new companies like All Caps, what old companies like Marvel and DC can learn from, is that it's about building an infrastructure around a product. Like, if we look at this, if we divorce ourselves from the art and the creators and all of that stuff, manga builds an infrastructure and then writes stories within that infrastructure, and they follow the rules of the infrastructure, and they do it very, very effectively. And that's what translates to ongoing series that people will buy over and over because they look at the structure. This is what attracts me to 40K. It's a funny, different world that I like, and it has a defined set of rules. And that rule, for me, involves these giant super soldiers who run around with chainsaw swords and are immune to fear and are funny because of how unhuman they are, which to me illustrates humanity in such a stark light. Like, by being so removed from what we consider human, they illustrate what it is that's human about us that's important. And that's what manga does really well in the same way. Like that, these ridiculous heroes, One Punch Man, to take the example and run with it. He's a guy who wins every fight in one punch, which should be like the greatest achievement you could possibly imagine, is the fact that you can't, like, you're so good you can't lose, but all the guy wants is like a challenge. Like all he wants is some adversity in his life, and there's something very telling about the human condition within that. And I think like any creator who's looking to create longevity with a product, and that's not inherently the sole virtue, but if you're looking to create an industry and you're looking to create longevity, you have to take that lesson. You have to see this in every one of the successful properties that stood the test of time, is that it has created a universe with rules, and it's compelling, and then the material within it has to take very little risks outside of the rules, because the rules are what matter and the rules are what make it. And building that is important. That's a hard thing to do, but you got to do it.
Well, we've seen comic creators that actually did, endeavor to do that. Think about Hellboy. I mean, think about a franchise like that. It's oddly niche, but you have something that does talk about, something that all of us can identify with as well and enjoy. And we're looking at a character that is so unique in its own way, and building a universe off of that. I think all of those elements, but then again, if you're busy online arguing about your qualifiers, maybe you miss all of that.
Right. And if you're writing about present day, like hashtag current year or whatever, if that's the comic you're making, I mean, you might do okay doing that for a little bit, but you're not building an industry. You're really not. You're not creating an escapist universe that people want to visit. Like maybe you could take current day and magnify it and amplify it in certain ways to make it some sort of message. But if you're just like, oh, you know what? We need to have a bunch of trans characters because trans are current gay. Current gay.
Current gay.
Oh no, traps are gay. It's been said
man,
by the
that's going
liquor.
to end up in like 40 clips.
If you're just writing current day, you're not going to have the longevity because tomorrow's different. So you have to do something to set it aside, to make a statement about it. One of my favorite writers is H.P. Lovecraft. And not because of the obvious racism of H.P. Lovecraft, but because he created the old ones, right? The old ones are a thing, and they've transcended his work, but also everything exists within this world that has so much mystery in it, and I love it. I love it so much because, like, it puts me into the mind of being in 1925, for example, and having parts of the world that aren't really discovered and known to everybody because you don't have the internet, you don't have mass media in the same way that we do now. So you have these, he like writes the Esquimos, right? It's Eskimos, except he uses a K because they spelled it differently or whatever. And there's so much mystery about them. And they're this weird culture that has these different practices, and so using that mystery, it's like there's these sacrifices in these old ways that really matter. And there's something about that, about his ability to take me to a time where we didn't have just the ability to Wikipedia everything, and have mystery in our lives, and have that mystery be dangerous to us. So that's.
I remember Conrad, for the Heart of Darkness. I mean, talking about that, his quote in there, talking about when he was a little chap, he had a passion for maps. He would go around and he said, I would find places that were blank on that, and those blank places, basically, I wanted to go there. And that's the way I wanted my mental space to go. I wanted that blank space, like you're saying. I want to go to that time period or whatever. And, people, you brought up the racism of Lovecraft. People used to understand that we were looking at different eras. We were looking at different rules, but people don't get that anymore. They have to, like Lovecraft, I have never seen so many people shit on writers that, using now versus then. In comic books, we've seen 2 cancellations from DC. They canceled a Detective Comics before Batman. They're from 1937 because they're afraid of how that will look for them. They're afraid of the yellow peril that's going to be reflected in it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, because we're gonna pretend that 1937 is now. And we're going to pretend that foundation didn't start them off.
Exactly. Yeah,
I mean,
and
Batman fought Clubfoot. One of his first enemies that I remember is freaking fighting a deformed dude named Clubfoot. Come
what an
on.
ableist pile of garbage Batman is.
Yeah, I mean, terrible stuff. That's I remember looking back at that and thinking, this is awesome. That's hilarious. He's fighting Clubfoot, but these days, nobody from those companies would ever hold that up. You remember
Right.
Clubfoot?
Oh, my thumbnail art guy, he says, I'm Nick Rekieta and I'll drink every 100 likes. There you go, guys. Okay, so moving on through some questions because I'm way behind on these. I'm like 40 minutes behind on questions. So Darth Bobcat says, settler splaining is when you explain where you got that Oregon Trail STD.
I like that statement.
He has died from itchy crotch. Chicken Sith says, Dear Tug, tomorrow I get out of the dead name Gulag. Any advice? Signed, Matt Jarbo.
Matt Jarbo. That's hilarious. Oh man. Yeah. A lot of people have been getting in a lot of trouble now with the new Twitter rules,
Yeah.
talking about Basagio. That's been one of those big things going and using that quote unquote dead name.
Yeah, what I don't even know what the dead name of Mags Visaggio is. Brian or something? Is it Brian?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw someone mention that in the chat. The funny thing is I don't care. Like I will I'll take the Jordan Peterson approach for 100, Alex. I don't care about, like, I'll call people whatever they want until you try and make me do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you try and make me do it, then I want to do the opposite. Because I'm no longer a child, or maybe because I'm more of a child. I don't know.
They threw a fit. I was talking on a live stream and had to hear how terrible it was to say people can, identify how they want. They can love who they want. I don't care. I don't care what you do there, but you cannot tell people that if they want to criticize that, especially the absurdity to, calling you ear and M-self, if they can't laugh at that shit, then who are you to tell people that, you can again do what you want? Because one day somebody will take away something you want to.
Yeah, and by the way, your pronoun should be grenade yourself, you stupid idiot. Okay, Darking D says, oh my god, I need to meet whoever had the brainwave of tricking NPCs into using actual real-life Illuminati conspiracy theorist talking points. I have a century-old cognac I'd love to crack open with them. Ooh, I'd love to crack open a century-old cognac with you.
Yeah, there you go. It was
me.
Nick
It was me. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you right now? Walesy1 says, entertaining and educational fun show. Good luck, Tug. Adios. That was 27 minutes ago. So bye, Walesy1. I hope you see this in the replay. Sorry I didn't get to you sooner. Darking D says, I love the whole digital sales argument about comic sales because I'm into D&D, and I have watched the 4th and 5th edition as people made the argument that those editions have all this net content. Meanwhile, 3.5 released more just dumping their leftovers. There you go. Tillip, oh yeah, that's him saying I'm Nick Rekieta and I drink every 100 likes. And then finally, this is a final super chat before we change topics. Landon Magenjam says, does your guest think eating beehole, that would be eating anus, I guess, is mealy AF? What do you think about that? Eating
is what now?
Eating, well, I guess like doing like something like a rim job, for example. Is that mealy AF?
I've never really thought about it, just
so you're not a
I've never gotten into the logistics of rim jobs and
you're not a licking sphincter
the pros and cons
guy.
to that. Maybe I need to if you write a book about it, maybe we can get it backed on YouTube.
We'll write a book about licking anuses. Okay. So that said, let's briefly recap. So you've got the DMCA strikes. You've contested them. You're obviously going to win because impoverished Rick Rotman isn't going to file a lawsuit against you. You mentioned being on Twitter. You mentioned being willing to pursue this legally.
Yeah.
There is an actual legal cause of action for a bad faith DMCA. It was set by, I think, Universal Music because basically they didn't go through a full fair use assessment when they did it. The test for that is something along the lines of, was it malicious or not when they filed the DMCA takedown. I mean, not to persuade you in any sort of way, I will send you the guy I would recommend you talk to about this personally. I can't give you legal advice. We're just chatting on a stream. I'm not your lawyer.
Yeah.
You should talk to someone about it to see if it's appropriate for you. I will happily send you a referral. My thoughts are, like, you got a case on Rick Rotman. This idiot clearly did the strike maliciously. I intentionally struck all four of them as one just to send a message or whatever. Like, what a dummy. What a dummy saying any of this. No, you're asserting your copyright or you're not. You're not sending a message. You're asserting your copyright. That's what copyright is for. But what you did to me sure looks a lot like fair use, transformative use. Yes, you can do that on a full, you can review a full thing. You could, as long as you significantly and sufficiently transform what it was away from the original work. You're not doing a derivative work. You're not taking Dune and writing another Dune book. You're taking Dune and saying it's good or bad and offering critiques and criticism of it to the point where the person watching you isn't reading Dune. They're watching your discussion and take on Dune. What people are doing when they're watching your video of Rick Rotman's boring blog is that they're not reading the blog. They're listening to how you make fun of it, how you address and engage it, how you criticize and counter the narrative that he's putting out. That's transformative use. It has been forever. Rotman, it's been transformative use longer than you've been a vagina, which is a pretty long time. Pretty long time. I can tell.
These sandy vaginas out there, they just, the problem is, I don't care that a bunch of like nobody assholes go out and call you a hate group. They can do whatever they want with that, honestly, and I can make fun of them, but they've got it in their head that they can go out with impunity, go in and continue to try to take people down.
Right.
They've tried so many people out there too, and it's the same people, and they're doing it. They're plotting it openly. They're so emboldened right now that they think they can set out there and they can do it openly and there will be no ramification. And I wonder, again, I have challenged that, and it would be very interesting as I was trying to get this guy to understand, if you want to pursue this, then, I'm going to look at my legal course of action, because why wouldn't I? I'm not going to sit here and, I'm not your bitch. I'm not going to take this from you, so
yeah, exactly.
If you,
exactly.
But I mean, they like I said, copyrighted freaking tweets, man. That's all you really need to know about the folks.
Right. And, and they're legal arguments. I love this one idiot on Twitter today. He says, Nick Rekieta named the wrong person in a high dollar value lawsuit. And he was talking about Meyer's lawsuit against Mark Wade, because in one of the last lines it says Chris Wade, because probably a paralegal typing up the document accidentally put in Chris or forgot to change a name or something like that. So he's like, I would never, or I'd likely hire any attorney other than Nick Rekieta. And I'm like, hey, moron, that wasn't me. So, like, do you have to have someone else run your life now because you're too stupid to know what name it was? You dumb pile of garbage. Like, these people, they think that the law is this weird place. I truly believe this. They think that the law works like Twitter. It works under these social justice rules, and they're completely incorrect about it. With your case, of course, you've got this transformative fair use. If you can go to court and show that the DMCA was done in bad faith, not only do you win any lost income from the thing or any damages that you may have sustained, you win attorney's fees. So, like, let's say you were to take Rotman to trial for this, for example, and you win. You get the requisite facts, you show his public stuff or whatever, you go ahead and win. He has to pay whatever lawyer you hired and any fees that you've paid to that lawyer, plus any outstanding fees that would come from the ongoing representation up until that point. What an idiot. What an idiot. These stupid people. Does that guy, like, you've seen that guy's picture? I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
Is
Taking a
there,
picture in a Walmart buggy. I mean, man,
yeah,
if I'm gonna take a picture to like show myself off in some cool way or something, I don't know, or even in some some self mockery, I'm not gonna do that.
right. I'm about to pull up his stupid picture. Here we go. My name is Rick Rotman. Hi. Okay, guys, you tell me. Does this dummy look like he can afford not only his own lawyer but someone else's? Like, are we serious here? This guy with 200 followers who's an Uber driver and bills himself as an e-commerce expert. That's the guy. That's honestly the guy who can afford not only a lawyer but someone else's lawyer. What are these people thinking? What are they thinking?
I
Whatever.
mean, just to be real, like everything about people is on the internet. I've been looking at this person and looking at their I've been looking at their, home values and stuff because I type in their name on the internet and everything in its mother comes up. And I think, why would you do this? Do you think it's just a click? Do you think attacking that umbrella guy, which is a business, this is my business. So, I make a secondary income off of that. Do you think going out and flagging that down, do you think that YouTube is just the end all to it? Even if you win on YouTube, do you think that ends there? I mean, do you?
And let me be clear, they're not going to win on YouTube. Not a chance is he going to win on YouTube unless he's filed suit. And there are procedural steps. Copyright's a highly technical lawsuit. Like, you can't just, you do have a copyright in anything you create, but filing the lawsuit has highly technical steps depending on what jurisdiction you're in, and it's different all over the country. So by the way, your Twitter lawyers don't know what those requirements are. And if you just Google it, you're not going to find out what those requirements are. You have to know what your district or your circuit or your particular judicial area know what they require for this thing. And it's based on case law. It's not just written out in a statute somewhere. Copyright is highly technical. It requires expertise. You dummies. So you stupid morons on Twitter blathering on about what is and isn't fair use. Most federal judges don't know what fair use is until they actually get a case in front of them and have to analyze it. So your dumb self prattling on Twitter. You have no idea. You have no idea. But let me tell you something. Reading through and making fun of a blog is like reading through and making fun of an article and writing an article about it that's critical of it. Something that's been done only since before we were a country and has been legal. You freaking moron. Like, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it to these dummies. They think that law is ideologically driven. It's not. Somehow, it's the one thing that is not ideologically driven yet. And you're not going to change it that fast because judges are old people. And it's going to take a while for them to die off. You need generational change in the legal system on a grand scale before you're going to get ideologically driven things. And hopefully, by God, we've defeated this nonsense by then. But it doesn't care about how righteous you are in your stupid blog post that one dummy read and left a comment on. It doesn't care. The judge doesn't care. The judge is going to look at the fair use factors, and they're going to look at if you technically succeeded in filing the lawsuit. And let me guess, when you do it from your Walmart rascal, you're going to do it wrong because you're wrong every step of the way up until then. So I can confidently say you'll do it incompetently going forward. You moron.
I don't know. This person reminds me of one of those people that wants to pull up at a DUI checkpoint and start screaming about how they're a sovereign citizen, which is great and all until, you get slapped with the real law when you actually find out about it, and
yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, why not enjoy the fact that you got some traffic there? You got to make your point. You got all your back slaps from your little buddies out there, and you got to be a big hero for the whole, again, 80 likes. But I don't know. Like I say, I don't even understand their mindset. I don't even understand these people's mindsets. I cover this stuff because they wouldn't even matter if they didn't write hit pieces as well. You know, they prove malicious intent from their content. They prove it from, again, talking about false flagging and on. So if you want to go past people laughing at you in videos, then that's probably not a good place for you to go.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the abusing copyright law, by the way, let me help you out. If you abuse a law to try and silence someone else, judges who are sworn to uphold the Constitution and its principles, trust me, you're not like an NGO fighting against the NRA. You're just an idiot on Twitter with a blog fighting against some small business. Okay? So they don't care about your cause. What they care about is the fact that you're wasting their time abusing the copyright system to try and silence speech. It's not going to go well for you. It's not going to go well for you. So open up or bend over or whatever you need to do. If you pursue this, it'll be very interesting. I'm not going to advise, like, obviously I can't advise you for or against. I suggest talking to a lawyer, but let's close out this copyright issue and just say that Rick Rotman is wrong. You're almost definitely going to win, like the YouTube stuff. He would have to file a lawsuit against you. I can't imagine this guy could scrape together the money to file a lawsuit in copyright, because you're talking about a retainer he can't afford. And most people can't. That's not a slight to Rick Rotman. Most people don't have the disposable income to afford a retainer for a copyright attorney. So there's no way he's going to pull this out. Plus, I know he hasn't gone through the procedural steps to effectively file a copyright claim. Even if he did, the risk versus reward on it would be so little that it would not be worth him filing the copyright claim, because he's not going to win, and two, if he loses huge. So that said, it's up to you. I think a lot of people out there think that at some point we got to take a stand against this stuff, and we have to punish some moron heavily enough. And that's how I see Myers' lawsuit against Wade, is some fat dummy has to be punished enough that someone else won't make that phone call. Someone else who will think about it, and they'll go, oh man, Mark Wade got run through the ringer when he did this. What if I do this and the same thing happens to me? Am I ready to lose my house over some book not being published? For you, if you were to run with this, that'd be the objective, in my opinion. Make a clear signal that
I was very irritated this morning, like I was saying off of the beginning. So I wake up at 4:00. I got to go take a leak. I can't see in my house because it's dark. I pick up my phone. What do I find out? Some asshole is flagged for my videos. I was not in a good mood. And, I wrote the guy. I told him, straight up, if you're going to let this stuff stand, then yeah, I mean, we can roll that way. And, he thinks it's fun and games, because a lot of these people think that Twitter flagging, that's the end all. It's over. That's it. I push the button, we're good to go. And it's very easy to push that button and get something removed. It's not very easy to make it stand.
Yeah, no, it's silly. They have literally no idea. And most people don't, because your average person isn't bothering with a copyright claim on YouTube. Even if they're getting made fun of, even if their content is getting taken, unless their content is heavily monetized in their source of business and you're actually infringing upon it. Like, most people are just happy for exposure. I get requests from people who want to like clip various streams that I do, where maybe I have a guest that they cover and they do clips of, and so they're like, hey, can I clip your show? It's like, yeah, please clip my show. That'd be great, because you might attract viewers that otherwise wouldn't watch, and they might like something I say. That's honestly what Rotman should be doing here, is saying, yeah, please show my stuff, because I know that some people who don't like you are also going to watch your video, and they might start visiting my blog. That's how this world should work. but it doesn't anymore. All right, so let's put a nail in that one. I wish you the best, whatever you choose to do with copyright. And when we're done with this stream, I will send you the referral of a guy that I would suggest talking to. You, of course, are free to talk to whoever you want or not talk to anybody. That's up to you. But I'll send you a person that I trust and know to be knowledgeable on the subject.
I appreciate that, man. Like I say, you know, running into this stuff, I didn't want to consult the Twitter lawyers. I wanted to consult the lawyers, you know?
I mean, spoiler alert, it's Jamal Eichel. I mean, it's Jamal. He worked in a mailroom of a Denny's that was next to a law firm one time for a week. He knows all about the law.
After him tweeting about birds and whatnot, man, internet lawyer.
Birds will suffocate over 10,000 feet. Google. Highest elevation bird flight, 35,000 feet. Okay. It took 1 second. Come on, Jamal. Okay, so I want to move on to something this is hot off the presses, if you'll bear with me. I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but there's been some action in the Meyer case. Do you want to kind of talk about it with me? I mean, are you good with that?
Sure.
Or should we talk about something else?
I always like I find the Meyer stuff fascinating, to be honest, just because we are finally seeing someone. Mark Wade, his history is amazing. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. Some of the stuff that he's pulled. I mean, my God. So yeah, somebody standing up to that guy. I love it.
Yeah. So I've been noticing throughout the show, some people in the chat have mentioned that there were updates in the Meyer case. Yes, there were yesterday and the day before. I mean, technically, like today, depending on where you are. If you're still in California, I think you're a little bit. It's almost midnight. But the 28th and the 29th, there were some interesting filings that have been going on. All of this is unopposed. So here, I'm going to bring this over. Well, let me make sure it's in frame enough here because I'm not doing this my normal way. This is an unopposed motion to conduct jurisdictional discovery. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this or not because it's just maybe I can zoom it. We'll do our best to read through this. Can you see this, Tug? Or are you're not watching the stream?
Yeah, I'm watching it now. I've got it pulled up over here too,
okay,
so I can see. Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be a little delay, but basically there's been some back and forth. All of this is unopposed. What that tells you is that these guys are negotiating all of this stuff outside of the court, and they're coming to agreement on this stuff. And they're like, hey, here's what we work out, and then the appropriate party will file the document. So in this case, we've got an unopposed motion to conduct jurisdictional discovery. So what this is there's an argument about jurisdiction about between Meyer and Wade, right? Meyer says the Western District of Texas has jurisdiction. I thoroughly agree that they do. Wade says no. Wade says no, they can't hail me into court here. They don't have any jurisdiction over me. So that said, they've been talking about this clearly, and they have determined that there will be a limited amount of discovery available to determine whether Mark Wade has sufficient contacts with the forum. I want to point out that this discovery is not necessary to the argument of jurisdiction, but it may help in the primary or a supplemental argument. So my contention is that there is jurisdiction because the entirety of events happens within the forum of Texas, right? You've got Wade calling a company in Texas intending to interfere with a contract that is formed in Texas by two Texas residents, and that contract matters in Texas. It will affect the taxable revenue of Texas, all of that stuff. All of that happens in Texas. Wade being in California, he directs his actions to Texas. Wade's defense against that is, I'm too dumb to know what even is a Texas. I don't know. Texas, where is that? Is that Mexico?
What is a Texas? There you go.
So that's his defense. But my contention is that it doesn't matter that he specifically knew it was Texas. It's that he knew he was interfering with a Texas relationship. He's inserting himself into Texas. If you close your eyes and throw a dart and it happens to go into Oklahoma and you kill someone with it, you're still killing someone in Oklahoma and you're sending that dart into Oklahoma with intent. Whether the fact that you knew it was Oklahoma or not, because you put on a blindfold and spun around 3 times before you threw it, doesn't matter. You're directing your conduct into Oklahoma. So I will contest personally that I don't think that this is a necessary thing. However, it could back up a supplemental argument on jurisdiction. Now, that doesn't mean that Meyer's attorneys agree with me. I have no idea what their strategy is, but my guess is that they're going to say the strongest argument for jurisdiction is that Wade intentionally directed his activity to Texas. However, in the event that the court finds something else occurred, we will submit this supplemental discovery to show that Wade has significant contacts in Texas outside of this intentional act. That's what's going on here, in my opinion. In my speculative opinion, which I know I'm not supposed to do. Mark Zaid told me so. But
do you like getting put in your place by such a high powered lawyer, man?
I love it. I honestly love it, because I'm just a guy. Literally, I'm just a guy in a town of 15,000 people. All I do are small criminal cases and small civil cases, and I hate every civil case I've ever gotten. I just want to do criminal stuff. It's just small, like I'm just a normal guy, right? Just a normal small town attorney doing my thing. And so then I come on here and I try and help people learn a little bit about the law. So when I have some big moron like Zaid come out so hard for no reason, I was nothing but courteous to Mark Zaid. I made fun of his client a lot and the people who support him. That's fine. But I was nothing but courteous and deferential to him. So to have him come out and tell me I'm wrong puts all of the risk in that guy's shoes. Because I don't practice in any of these fields, in any of these jurisdictions. And he does. Now he has to win, or else he's the dumbest attorney on the planet who lost to a guy in the middle of Minnesota who doesn't practice outside of his own jurisdiction or in the field of tortious interference. Like, so if I'm right and Mark Zaid is wrong, it's the worst possible outcome for him. And I can't wait for that to be true. I can't wait for it.
But they're going to come in. They're going to come in, quote unquote, fix you or whatever.
Yeah. They're going to take care of that for him.
Yeah, take care of that. That's right. Yeah, you're. That wasn't even masked very well. No wonder they took that one down, because you're so terrifying, man.
No, I guess Zaid's CIA contacts are going to come rub me out. Did you see he threatened someone with that back in like May or something? He's like,
no.
He's like, maybe this guy is the. I regret ever treating him with deference. This dummy on Twitter back in like May says to someone, and I don't know what they said to him because it was just a screenshot. It wasn't a retweet, but it was basically, maybe I should have some of my intelligence clients investigate you and see what they come up with, and we'll compare notes. Like, what the hell are you doing, you ridiculous man? You're threatening to do this stuff.
He's bragged about. He has a video out there that it's him giving a lecture. I forget what school it's at, but within it, he brags about his contacts within the comic community. In fact, I think a lot of this kind of showcases who he is within it. But he brags about having stolen property from DC Comics. But it doesn't matter. He bought something illegally, but it doesn't matter because he's buddies with all their lawyers.
Yeah.
I mean, he brags about it just openly in this thing. And I thought, man, that's really funny. That shows you who the guy is.
Oh, yeah. He's a horrific pile of trash. He happened to be involved in a big lawsuit, and he negotiated a settlement. And I guess good job on that, although he didn't end up getting them to pay all of that settlement. And he had, he only had the support of the U.S. government sanctions against Libya. Like, it's only like there was some sort of big motivating factor for them to settle this out. But no, it's just nonsense. It's nonsense. And again, good work, I guess. I actually would agree with him on so many things. That's why I wanted him on the show. And why I was treating him respectfully is like, I think he's an interesting guy. He sues He's sued every presidential administration for the past 25 years or whatever. That's right up my alley. I hate the government, and I want to sue all of them all the time. So I would have loved to talk to him, but instead he had to open his mouth and show it to be a front hole and a back hole, and I will put my lawyer penis right in both of them. I don't know if that was too graphic.
No, that was magical, man. I was lighting a candle while you were saying it. It was so good.
But we'll see how it goes. Okay, two quick chats, and then we'll go into this motion that Meyer has filed. I haven't read it, so this is new to me. Landoname says, "Tug, go eat mealy bunghole and view the anime Go Sick." So he wants you to watch Go Sick. He also wants you to lick anus a little bit.
Like at the same time, I'm confused there.
Yeah, I think so. So you have to make sure that your eyes are above the lower back while you're licking sphincter or whatever.
I'll try not to light a candle while I'm doing that.
Yeah, don't do that. That could be very dangerous. There was a movie about that called Backdraft.
Yeah. Now, when I see that movie again, it'll definitely have a different connotation.
Yes. There's just a comics pro on the other end farting into the fire. Darking D says, "The Wade defense. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm a retard." I mean, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. That's honestly where he's at right now. Yeah. Okay, so unopposed motion to conduct jurisdictional discovery. Let's go through this real quick. Meyer files this motion. I'm not going to read it word for word. I'll summarize the paragraphs as we go. Meyer contends that discovery is necessary to defend against the motion to dismiss for lack of personal jurisdiction filed by Wade. Jurisdictional discovery is necessary to inquire into Wade's contacts within the state of Texas. Meyer requests that he be allowed to conduct the following discovery. Okay, so here's what they're asking. Submit no more than 7 document requests to Wade seeking information about his contacts with Texas relating to Wade and Antarctic Press, including text messages, phone records, social media posts, emails, public statements, and other Texas-related communications. So anything he sent to Texas ever, he's going to get 7 document requests on that. And those, let me tell you how these things go. You have 1 document request, like number 1, A through triple Z, like 60 things. That's your 1 document request. Okay, so that's how that'll look. And he'll get 7 of those. Submit no more than 3 interrogatories. Again, same thing with interrogatories are not going to be, I don't believe that 3 interrogatories is going to be referring to 3 questions, but it'll be 3 document interrogatories. Requesting Wade to identify his contacts with the state of Texas over the last 2 years, as well as to identify persons in Texas with whom Wade communicated, if any, regarding Meyer and the substance of those communications. So that's going to reveal any cons he attended, any stores off of Westheimer that his attorney knows he attended because the attorney is friends with the guy who owns the shop off of Westheimer. Mark Zaid, you dumb idiot, putting that on Twitter, that you as the attorney knows he has a business contact in Texas with whom he's associated. You dumb pile of garbage. I can't believe you're tweeting about this case, you moron.
Yeah, why would your attorney go? I've been baffled by that right there. You see Meyer's attorneys are in the courtroom. Wade's attorney is on the court of Twitter opinion.
I would fire this front hole so fast. I mean, I can't even imagine. If he was an associate of mine, I would fire him. I can't believe it. Maybe the only defense of Mark Zaid is that maybe Wade asked him to run Twitter fights. Maybe. If he didn't say, you know what, I want you to take this public and defend me in the public sphere, then what Zaid is doing is absolutely stupid. I can't believe it. Zaid himself has admitted to things that could amount to knowing misrepresentations from the attorney that could open them up to all sorts of trouble. And if nothing else, it makes it look like in bad faith. Like, imagine if Meyer's attorneys are like, so not only does Wade have contacts in Texas, like when he went to this comic shop to do a signing, and that was clearly a business relationship and clearly had business value to him, and he probably wrote off his expenses. And oh, by the way, we want evidence of his tax return showing that he wrote off those expenses. Good luck providing that, Wade. Let's get your forensic accountant on that one. But we want evidence of that as part of discovery to prove that he was in Texas on a business venture. Like, not only would they have the ability to say that, oh, by the way, his attorney, who implicitly is part of the legal team, he knew about it because he's friends with the owner of that shop. And so not only did he know about this appearance, he may actually have inside information to the business relationship. And maybe we could break attorney-client privilege, right? Because that's what they're trying to do with Trump. And we could just say that he colluded to have Wade make a false statement under oath. I don't know. That's like, I'd be trying this stuff. I'd be trying all of this stuff. You, of course, want to just go ahead and pick up the sledgehammer and smash in anything that your opponent does that might even be close to a mistake. And you want to show the judge that they're not operating in good faith. I cannot believe that Zaid is acting in this way as an attorney. Like, you can talk about anything that's not your own case. You can talk publicly about your case if your client gives you permission, but why would you? Why would you do this?
Yeah. And we haven't even gotten to any meat on this. You know, I mean, we've gotten to some interesting stuff, but my God, this kind of shit show, and we haven't even gotten to the actual shit show yet.
Right. We haven't gotten these discovery documents. They're going to be public, y'all, unless they somehow decide to suppress some of them. But mostly the discovery is going to be public matter. So we'll get to see what Wade said about Meyer. We'll get to see that sterling character of Mark Wade just white knighting himself and defending against the mean words of Meyer calling some woman a cum dumpster. Let's see what Wade called Meyer in private emails.
Just wait. There's some magic out there. I'm telling you, just wait, because I can't wait. And that's not because anybody's told me something. That's because I've seen some interesting things that I know will come up in that. And God, just wait. You know, it'll be amazing.
Before Wade's handlers got a hold on him, his social media looked like Wendig's.
So, yeah, I did. I mean, you know, and what he did, you know, thinking that he could clean that up, his answer was, I'm going to delete everything, you know, because the internet doesn't archive shit. Yeah.
Right. Oh, and by the way, like, Twitter has to keep those tweets for a long time, just in case you're a jihadi terrorist. Twitter has to keep your tweets in case you said Allahu Akbar, I'm going to blow up a school. They have to go ahead and keep copies of those tweets. So even if you delete them, Twitter still has them. And those are discoverable. Absolutely. If this goes to trial. And by the way, that's not going to be cheap. Discovery is going to cost Wade a fortune. It's going to cost Meyer almost nothing. What is Meyer going to have to provide to Wade? Nothing. Like himself, his YouTube videos that are already out there. I'm pretty sure he's got archives of them. Wade's going to have to go looking for all of the stuff Meyer asks for. And that's insane. Good God. What a freaking pile of idiots. Okay, sorry. So no more. Yeah. Subpoena documents from non-party Antarctic Press. So now Antarctic Press will have to be under threat of contempt of court produce the documents that they ask for, including any written, Meyer's intended publisher for his comic book. Anything that Antarctic Press has said to anybody relating to Meyer, Wade, and Meyer's comic book. All of that. Antarctic Press is going to have to produce it. And if they don't, contempt of court. And guys, by the way, Antarctic Press is of course going to comply with this subpoena. They have nothing to lose by complying with the subpoena. They have everything to lose by failing it, because these are two guys who run this as a side business, and not complying it with this subpoena would require a lawyer and a legal argument that would cost thousands of dollars, would be a complete waste of their time, and may end up destroying their business and could end up with them in jail for contempt. So that's not going to happen. Depose the 2 owners of Antarctic Press for no more than 3 hours each. That's expensive. To determine the nature and extent of their communications with Wade and the reasons for canceling its contract, if any, with Meyer. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I bet your jurisdictional argument, when you made it, I bet it wasn't considering the fact that they would just go ahead and ask Antarctic Press what Wade said and what they felt. Because I know Antarctic Press tweeted out, like you saw that tweet, right, Tug, where Antarctic Press tweeted out, oh, this was nothing. And of course, it turns out that was like a social media manager that they hired and not actually the 2 guys who ran Antarctic Press. Now
I would have been. It would have been so interesting to see how, all the what ifs. I always I want to see how the guys that were actually in charge. I want to hear what they have to say, not some social messenger, some lackey boy out there tweeting on his own. I want to hear what those guys have to say.
No kidding. And I don't know what they say, but let me give you a hint. It's not what their social media person said.
Right.
I can promise you that. If anything, the fact that they even had to address the fact that it was a social media person should indicate to us that it's not what they said. And that first tweet, the first tweet that everyone seems to forget, where they say that there are many forces out there, many which should be viewed with trepidation and fear in our society, which have led us to this decision. We're about to hear, if I had to guess, when they depose those guys, we're about to hear just how terrified they were of losing not only their publishing business, but also having a bunch of Rick Rotmans try and ruin their real businesses, their primary operations, just because they wanted to publish a book from an indie comic producer. And we'll find out all the names of all the stupid cucks who contacted them are about to become public. Hey, if you contacted Antarctic Press and you happen to give them your name or your email address, guess what's about to be public? You SJW pile of dummies. We're about to get it. It's about to be public record, because that's going to be in the request. You're about to out yourselves.
You're gonna get to see a real show of what these people really looked like behind the scenes when they were just complaining as consumers. We're gonna get to really see what those pros sound like. I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see who is connected to all of this, because we saw screenshots of certain people behind the scenes and them colluding to take stuff down. Just imagine what was there. I mean, that's beautiful. That's delicious.
Yeah, imagine all the deformed mutants out there trying to sleep with a certain cosplayer on Twitter, all trying to bang this one broad. Like, imagine all of these guys' names, because their email address is going to be like Bill Meyer at gmail.com. Bill Meyer Kingslayer or whatever it is at gmail.com. All of those emails that you sent to Antarctic Press, those are about to be in the discovery file. Anybody who sent their names on the phone, that could show up in the discovery file. Hope they don't have caller ID and like some sort of call logging thing. I don't know if they do, but hope they don't, because that would be in the discovery file. You dumb God, you people are so stupid. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see. Depose Mark Wade in California or in Texas with the express agreement of Wade for no more than 3 hours about his activities regarding Antarctic Press and his contacts with Texas. We'll find out if he lied to Bleeding Cool. Maybe he lied at the convention. Maybe he's going to lie under oath. I don't know. Hope Mark Wade makes consistent statements with everything he said so far. Yeah. Because if he makes
that's going to be the beautiful thing. Like, is he, like you said, to either he's going to admit to doing some really nasty shit, or he's going to lie about doing some really nasty shit.
Yeah. Oh, and that'll be the best thing, because it doesn't. If his statements are inconsistent with a previous statement, that could be the lie, or that could be the truth, but we won't know. And the other thing is, someone much better at this than Mark Wade will be asking Mark Wade the questions. Some guy like the deposition attorney is going to be some guy, I'm guessing, who's done a lot of depositions in his life. Maybe. I don't know. Who has interviewed people professionally to try and get specifically information out of them. Even if he's never done a deposition, I'm betting they're going to send someone who's done a few. Even if he's never done a deposition, he's probably cross-examined someone in court to specifically get a specific piece of information to make them look bad. Good luck, Wade. Good luck. It'll be like talking to a cop, except worse. Because they're going to intentionally try and make you look like a cuck, and you're going to. You already do, but it's going to be worse. Oh, I can't wait. Meyer expects that all this discovery can be completed within 90 days of authorization from this court. That'll be great. In addition, should Meyer decide to submit his own affidavit or declaration regarding Wade's contacts with the state of Texas, Meyer will give Wade 10 days notice of that election, thereafter appear for a deposition at the office of his counsel for up to 3 hours. So Meyer will go in for deposition at Wade's counsel's office, presumably in Austin, where his primary counsel is. Even though Mark Zaid said he was primary counsel is still Betsy Reeves. And he will show up at Betsy Reeves' office for deposition for no more than 3 hours. And I would love to be Meyer in that situation. Just go ahead and answer all those questions. What did you do? I tried to publish a comic book, you cunt. The parties agree. The defendant Wade shall have the right to submit evidence obtained through any jurisdictional discovery as well. Wade may file such evidence as part of a supplement to his pending motion to dismiss or as part of his reply brief. So he's going to try and submit evidence like, well, I only attended 4 conventions in the past 2 years or whatever it is. Or I only set up contracts to attend the next convention this past year, signifying an ongoing contract with the forum. I only offered Antarctic Press a publishing agreement in agreement that they would make the right decision on Meyer. I only did that and then talked about it in a Bleeding Cool article like a moron, indicating that I want to have future business with a Texas entity. I only did that. A defendant preserves the right to lodge appropriate objections to Meyer's discovery, of course. Meyer will not use Wade's lack of opposition to this motion or any related discovery to argue that Wade has in any way waived any part of his jurisdictional challenge. That's a formality. Finally, Meyer requests the court to extend the deadline for his response to Wade's motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction until 14 days following the expiration of the 90-day period. So, guys, I said it before. These things move slow. We're in for a long haul. That's it. That's the only important stuff in here. This has been, I believe, granted. Let me check real quick. If this hasn't been granted, it will be. Where do we go? Come on. Click on it. Too much liquor to click. I apologize, guys. I'm getting there. Okay, I just want to verify this has been... order granting motion to conduct jurisdictional discovery. Not that the court wouldn't. It's mutual, so they're fine with it. But this has been granted. There's been a order granting the motion for extension of time to file the TCPA motion that was requested by Mark Wade as well. That's the Texas Citizen Participation Act. I covered that in a different video, and that's about that's like an anti-SLAPP law. If you don't know what it is, go watch that video. I don't want to sit here and explain it, but long story short, if you interfere with someone's free speech with a civil lawsuit, they can win on that ground alone. I don't think Wade has a good argument here on the tortious interference. He may have an argument on the defamation. It's hard to say. But there we are, guys. That's the new goss in the Meyer versus Wade lawsuit. I don't know, man. Did you want to talk about anything else? I think we're a little over 3 hours, which is.
I think it was good. I think it went pretty well. So
yeah. All right. Well, I think we can wrap up then. Man, I unironically love your voice and delivery. I don't get a chance to watch a lot of your videos because I don't really get a chance to watch any videos right now. I got too many kids and too much stuff going on.
I know that feeling, man. I know that feeling,
Yeah, it's the whole part about shifting from a consumer to a content creator. Like it's shocking how much time it takes to just make sure you're able to keep up with what's going on, as well as creating the content. You don't get to watch so much for entertainment as much as for like planning and strategy.
I think that's where people don't really understand the keeping up. I think I spend I spend hours in a day, and I think, oh my god, did I really just read through all this garbage? Just to keep up
Yeah.
with what's going on.
And my wife, I don't know about you, but my wife glares at me all the time. Since you're a closet homosexual, according to that one guy, my
Yeah.
my wife glares at me all the time when I'm like on Twitter, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "This business, lady. Hey, you stupid moron." But it's business as I'm making fun of people, but it really is. It's part of it. It's like trying to keep up with what's going on, trying to make fun of people, trying to market the YouTube channel. All of that stuff takes a ton of time, as you know. And I'm really, really. I know you're taking it really well, but I'm really frustrated that you have to go through this because it's BS. And YouTube's policy on this stuff is dumb. The fact that one, that you have the guideline strike from before
Mhm.
is really frustrating, and two, that you have a copyright strike, even though that one's going to get overturned, but it prevents your ability to do the live stream. It really hampers your ability to monetize your channel, and that's dumb because you put out good stuff, and all of this stuff that's come against you is fake. It's fake nonsense.
Well, I need to make better friends. I need to go and be like, hey, Keemstar.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's what I've learned.
Well, Keemstar helps with some stuff, but copyright stuff, in the like in the actual DMCA statute, there's some
Yeah.
time that goes on. So there's they technically have 10 to 14 days, and you can't always overturn that. Now on the what you call it, the community guideline strike.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I should have had better friends there. That's right. Or a bigger friends, grow
Yeah.
and then you run into people.
Well, just get yourself to 1 million subs. Just go
Yeah,
ahead and
that's
do
what
that, and then you get your own YouTube guy. You get that guy, and he'll just take care of you for that. What was your guideline strike for? Do you even know like what content was so offensive?
It was Edwin Boyette and myself sitting down and discussing the state of the industry. Nothing. There was nothing there, but I even went through it. It was really bad. Like this sounds like a damn country music song. I went to the hospital because I had my appendix removed. So
Oh,
I
sure.
was riding back. My wife was driving, and I was checking notifications on my phone. I hadn't done it in a day, and bam, one of the newest one was that thing. So I was so pissed off because I had good drugs. I was going to come home, mess around on the
Yeah, yeah,
live stream.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the best time when you've got some sort of like you've got a legitimate excuse to be absolutely trashed in some way.
exactly. I mean, it's and then I went through the live stream. There was no outside linking or anything, but someone flagged for spam. Now this is during the same time when Mark Wade Zaid videos were being flagged. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What so did they tell you was yours, because I know one of the ways these dummies get to people is it's spam. They listed as
yeah,
spam.
spam. That was the
That was the
the
one.
spam thing. Yep. Hmm.
What a trash heap. Like
Yeah, well, it taught me that live streams, I just don't. I'm going to move them somewhere else. So during my off time, it's amazing. Like I said, in Comicsgate, it's kind of amazing that 12,000 subs are right there on it. That's around 10 is where I started. I needed to have a secondary place to dump some of this stuff, an
Yeah.
archive channel or something.
It's a real shame. Like I just hate any of this. Like just if you don't like what okay, if someone makes something that is directly infringing on your copyright, like obviously really like you wrote a book and they just open your book on camera and do a flat read of it, that's a problem, right? Oh, excuse me. I don't mean your comic book. I mean like your novel. And they read
Right.
through like 100 pages and they just flat read it. Or if they just go panel by panel, like here's panel 1, here's what it says, panel 2, here's what it is, and they just read and go through like that. Yeah, that's probably something we should police a little bit. Outside of that, get bent. Go die in a fire. No one cares about you. Go to Greenland. bury yourself, get raped, whatever it is that you need to do. Stop it. Stop deplatforming people. Stop going after people's money and jobs, because that is the coward's way. They're not actually hurting you, and you know it. And that's the thing that's what pisses me off. None of these people are doing this in any sort of good faith. They're doing it because they don't like the creator, and then they're trying to find an excuse to expose that creator to a rule. They're not. Rick Rotman's not saying, "Oh man, this guy showed my blog post to people, and now I can't show my blog post and monetize it." He's going, "I hate Tug. I don't like what he says because it's mean. And when he says it, it makes me feel bad. So now I have to find a way to flag him." And that's backwards. And the court will hate them for that. But anyway, that's all I got, buddy.
Well, I appreciate the time to talk about it. Like I say, these people they've been going hard in the paint lately. So
yeah, man, it's ridiculous. Okay, so clean up for the stream, wrap up for the stream. Wait a minute. Iron Martyr says, sue the government and stream the case. How much? Oh man, I have some ideas. I would have to crowdfund it because it takes so much time. Like, you don't even know. I'd have to drop all of my other legal work would have to go away. And I'd have to probably, streaming the case, of course, but, it would take a very, very large GoFundMe because it would have to be my income. And I don't want to do that to people. I really don't. I think it'd be funny in concept, but I don't want to do that. Watermelon Platypus says, thanks for being there for our boy Tug. Anytime. Of course, I'm just a guy creating content. And sometimes that content overlaps with people who are in bad situations. Other times it's in good situations. Tug, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I wish you the best in all of this. The cleanup for the stream is tomorrow night. If you haven't been to one of these, this is the second Chad Dad Chat. It will have Doug Ten Nipples, whatever you call him. He will be on here, as well as Larry Blydner, the same two guests that were on the previous Chad Dad Chat, and myself. We will be taking dadding and manning advice as men who lead families in the modern world, because in my opinion, men lead families. It's not to say anything about women's contributions to families, and I think plenty of women lead families, but I'm saying that as a man, you should be leading your family. That doesn't mean your wife can't also lead your family, but you should be doing that, and doing that entails having children and going ahead and just being that example. That's what we're going to talk about on the Chad Dad Chat. So if you want to know how to be a dad, if you want to know how to be a man, I guess, if you want to know how to be a creator in the current world full of filth and disgusting people like Rick Rotman, degenerates like what SJW Spider-Man or whatever, Mags Visaggio or whatever. These sad people who are stuck in their own little Twitter worlds. If you want to realize how to raise children, raise families, and be a creator and a producer in a world like that, come to that stream. That'll be tomorrow, 10 p.m. Central Time. It'll be an hour earlier. So come watch. They're great shows. So do that. And then next Friday, I've already got next Friday's stream planned, and that will be a whiskey and relax, a whiskey and chill or whatever, with Cecil and Yellow Flash Guy. We'll have a very lighthearted stream where we consume alcohol and we make fun of people. Other than that, the streams are relatively open at this point. Follow me on Twitter, of course, for updates on what will come. Check out the Patreon if you want. If you like this show, go ahead and throw a couple bucks that way, and I would really appreciate it. Tug, is there anything you want to direct people to as my guest of honor? You get the final plug on the channel.
All right. Yeah, you can check out my channels. I have that and The Umbrella Guy. You can sub to both of those. And if you want to support the channel, there are links within video descriptions, so you can check that out. But yeah, I appreciate people actually tuning into this stuff. And if it continues to go forward, I will probably talk about that more. And like I say, I appreciate all of the people that have offered to help out with that and on. I know a lot of people are spoiling for the good fight, not a fight, but the good fight, showcasing that, we should be able to talk about this stuff, and especially if it's about ourselves. So anyway, like I say, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on too, man.
Yeah, man. Anytime. If you've ever got something, I mean this from the depth of my soul or being or transgender spiritual essence or whatever it takes. If you ever got something you want to talk about on my stream that makes any sort of sense, of course, send me a message. I will have you on in a heartbeat. This has been an absolute joy. And guys out there, make sure you support Tug. We got to support creators who are dealing with the adversity, right? Like subscribe to his channel, show these walking little babies that we don't tolerate this stuff. And if you do decide to pursue this lawsuit, if he does, again, he's got to talk to an attorney. He's got to determine if it's the right move for him based on a lot more information than we've got on the stream. If he does do that, make sure you support him in whatever way that manifests for you. Maybe it's a GoFundMe. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just simply offering that support, showing up to streams, showing up to chats, and just offering that voice. Because, guys, I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, we need that just a little bit. We don't need it. Like, it doesn't make our lives complete in that way. But when a bunch of people are calling you wrong or a dummy or saying you did the wrong thing or calling you horrible names, no matter, you can let that stuff roll off. That's great. I do for the most part. But really, it always helps to have someone come in and reinforce and just say, hey, buddy, keep up the fight. Like, keep it up. So whatever happens with this going forward, let's keep the pressure on these guys. Let's show them that this is unacceptable, because we got to stop it. We got to stop it, or it's going to be every single person you like is going to eventually be subject to this. Because at some point, they'll show one frame of someone's picture from Google, and they'll be like, oh, I have a copyright on that. And they'll try and shut you down. They're going to shut down everybody you like if we let this go on. So that's my two cents. All right, guys, I'm going to blank out the stream before I drunk ramble into tomorrow. And thank you all. Have a good night. We'll see you later. Peace.